All right, with all of that out of the way, we are going to dive right into our first segment on the definitions, expectations, and table structure as it revolves around GM-driven or collaborative gaming. So, Mr. Max Boivin is sitting in the first chair today. Who are you?
Yeah.
What content do you create? And what is your tabletop RPG experience?
So my name is Mr. Max. My channel now is called Off the Rails Roleplay. And we're having a new show that the actual first episode is going to be tomorrow night, where the show is called As Long as Everybody's Having Fun. And we're going to have for guests the GM philosopher from the channel GM Philosophy. We're going to pro about like his vision of this hobby, things you want to see change, things you'd like to see more, why you engage in that hobby or another thing. And then we have creative section. We do some news too. So we're trying to have like a fun show, big tent RPG kind of show. So everybody's welcome.
And you will find everybody's link in the description. Of course, we will get to Driving Dragons and Malachi in their segments, but check them all out, and I hope you subscribe to everybody. Now, Mr. Max.
Yes.
When you describe, these questions were really long, by the way. When you describe a collaborative campaign versus a GM-driven campaign, how do you divide the responsibilities such as preparation, scene framing, rules calls, goal setting between GM and players? And where have your own campaigns confirmed or challenged those expectations in practice?
Yes, I'm very much in the camp of a GM, of the collaborative style of play, right? Obviously, I see like the GM-driven kind of game. There's a lot of expectation put on the GM, like for the GM to be like a service provider. Is there to host, is there to entertain the players and stuff like that. And for me, like role-playing game, it's a game, right? It's the name, the role-playing game. And a big part of the game aspect is also for the GM to be reactive and to react to what the player brings up, right? The players control the protagonist of this narrative that we're coming up through, right? So they're supposed to be proactive. They're supposed to drive the plot forward, not just be reactive to a plot that the GM brought. Like I said, it's a game where you're there to play a game with your friend, and the game is making up stuff as we go, right? And with the dice roll and impacting that and stuff like that. I think that if you invite your friends over to play a game and you serve them a story, it's kind of rude. It's kind of like a bait and switch in a sense. So that's where I see it. I like when a GM too. I like being surprised. I like not knowing what's going to happen, right? We come up with a premise. We often time going to come up with a premise with a world together in session 0. We're going to talk more about that later. But then it's on the goals, our character goals. They're, like I said, they're protagonists. They're supposed to drive the plot forward. So it's on them to have thing they want to achieve. As a GM, I'm going to control the world. I'm going to control the NPCs, and I'm going to react to what the character does. But they're supposed to have their character do stuff, right? Go forward.
Okay.
I can go longer if you want.
Well, no. If you're done, then I'll wait for these guys to jump in and either, like I said, give their answers or talk to you about your expectations and so forth. But this is for you guys.
Well, if you're ready to move
Go ahead.
on,
It's a conversation.
Go ahead and take my second seat. So the easy stuff, Driving Dragons is my channel. I do a lot of little stuff there, game master tips. I try to do deeper level stuff than the typical quote unquote dungeon tuber. Oh, I've never GM'd before stuff, like ways to enhance your game and enhance your world. I'm a lifelong sufferer of chronic world builder syndrome. So that is, it's like, here's an outlet for it. Here's some of the things I do this to make the world more realistic, that sort of thing. And then, of course, every Monday, I do a little therapy by scrolling through social media to pick up what I see as the some of the dumbest foot and mouth takes, and I call it intelligence as a dump stat, where we did not use our brains before posting online. It tends to be tongue in cheek. Some people take it seriously and have to be reminded that I'm joking and that the people included are people who can take a joke. And also, I'll give you a car. I don't. If the channel makes money, I just dump it into a car project and I plan on giving it away. So that's really more or less me.
Well, I always think that I give back to the people who follow and support Legion of Myth. I can't top that, though.
Well, if you want to support me personally, the Corvid Codex, my pulp anthology's Kickstarter right now. That's me and the 6 other people that helped me write everything that's in it. So that's the that's the place if you want to support me. But otherwise, I'm just going to give the car away, and maybe one of these days we'll have the convention rally where we get to drive from gaming convention to gaming convention with a bunch of us and make a road trip out of it. Be a mobile con. But anyway, as far as the topic du jour here, GM driven. There's one thing that Max said that stuck out to me because it's hilarious. It's one of the exact same things that I have against the more extraordinarily player driven, like 40 role playing type of thing. GM is a service provider. I've played Club League. People played kids sports and whatnot. Have you ever gone to the American Legion, signed up to play baseball? There's one person on the field who gets paid. There's 18 people on the field who pay. If you're a player, you pay money because that's what you want to be. If you're an umpire or a referee, you get paid to be there because nobody wakes up as a kid and says, man, I can't wait to be an NFL referee. They want to be a wide receiver or a running back. They don't want to be a ref. And when you reduce the game master to somebody who just kind of runs the world, like kind of mechanically runs it in the background, you've basically turned them into that. So I see stripping out that external control of the world as being more like reducing them to the level of a referee as opposed to a collaborative person that's involved in the development of the story. It's the separation that's important. Every player has a character. Their control of that character is absolute. But everything that is an inch beyond the skin of that player is the game master's character, where they have the agency and how things react. Now, the dice inform that, but if the world's moving in a specific direction, that's how a game master drives the story, is big picture, while the players flesh out the small turns on the journey. We make a roadmap, say, I'm driving from Birmingham to Alabama, or from Birmingham, Alabama to Atlanta, Georgia. The players decide what roads we take along the way, but I'm pushing us in that eastward direction as a game master. And that's really where it comes down to the concrete terms is, where do we put too many cooks in the kitchen? One person is driving, even if everybody has input.
I find your sport analogy interesting, but very flawed, especially in the way you put it in. Because it's more like you would more say like a director, like in a play, right? Like where I give you a script and you're gonna follow up. You're allowed to do some improvisation here and there, but this is the story you have to follow. This is the story we're telling now, right? If we take a baseball analogy, right? There's 2 teams, and the GM represents one team, the batter, whatever, the people on the field, and the player represent the other team, right? So for me, that's the way I would see it, much more than being the referee. We're playing a game between friends, right? We don't need a ref to make sure nobody's cheating, because we play with people that can be trusted. It's a I trust game that we play, right? Otherwise, you don't waste your time with people that are gonna fucking cheat, right? Just kick them out.
Very true. Well, here's another one that might fit a little better for you. Another analogy: if you run a professional kitchen, you have a person called an expediter, or the head chef. He is the guy who stands at the pass and says, all right, I need 2 burgers, I need a chicken nuggets, I need 3 fries, and I need an onion rings.
Yeah.
And then they bring it all up, and he puts them in there and says, well, here's a burger combo, a nugget combo with onion rings, and a side of fries. Send this out. And this goes to table 1, this goes to table 2. Each person in that kitchen is in charge of what they're making. But the one who makes sure that the product goes out the way it's supposed to, that everyone enjoys and everyone profits from, is the expediter. If you take that expediter out and you allow all of those chefs to just make what they need to make, that's how you end up with a bunch of people getting the wrong stuff, extra burgers getting produced, and profit going down the toilet, stuff not being done right. You need that one person who wrangles everything together and keeps it pointed in the right direction, even if they're not directly controlling what those other people do. It's not. That's not the.
I want to let Malaki go on and say his part as well. I just like, I think one point we're gonna have to discuss later on is like, I don't believe that there's a right direction, right? It's like there, you get the ball rolling and you figure out where it's gonna go. Like I think that's a big point. Like there's not a direction. Like I don't want to take the game somewhere. I want to see, even as a GM, where the game is gonna go. But Malaki, you're supposed to be like the in between kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are just going. You're fine. I mean, and me and Malachi, I'm a blogger. Been taking a break though of outside stuff I'm dealing with. Yeah, just talk about gaming. As for where I stand, I am really in the middle. I think it's a good idea to listen to player suggestions, but at the same time, as a GM, you have the opportunity to say no because ultimately this is your vision. But at the same time, I feel like, yeah, I have control of the world. It's my job to create and everything, but that can also lead to burnout. And I think that's maybe part of the reason why we're seeing a lot of GM burnout on like the 5e side of things. There's all this pressure to create a world for these players, and players are just coming and sitting at the table. Maybe if you give a hand to the DM, you're going to be able to have a game last longer.
So one of the things I want to do, just kind of redirect this a little bit, because I don't want to dive too much into the questions we've got following up with this one, and this is for all three of you. Mr. Max, I'll always direct the question to the person whose segment it is. Since this is your segment, I will. You'll start with you. But how do you divide those responsibilities? Now, I know even in the 4D style, there's a lot more collaboration than definitely in the GM-driven style, which pretty much, he mentioned where his dividing line is. But how do you divide the responsibilities such as preparation, scene framing, rules call, whatever you want to say? This is just the terms I use just to open up the gamut there. But how do you decide, and how do you divide those responsibilities? Who knows when to do what?
Like I said, like the GM is going to control like the world in general. It's going to control the NPC and stuff like that. That's his characters, right? As for preparation, and the player control their character. I often say that the number one priority of the GM is to preserve the verisimilitude of the world, to make sure that the world is believable and makes sense in a sense, right? So it needs to be self-consistent with that. That's the number one priority of the GM. But the player also have to share on that responsibility as well, right? So when we are open to co-creation, right, and if you were in a medieval town, you can infer that there's going to be a cobbler or something like that, because every town's going to have like some guy like that, right? And it's no big deal. If you bring a magic shop, then you're going too far, right? Depending on the tone thing established like that. So the player also have like a responsibility on that. But that's the number one priority of the GM. While the number one priority of the players is to have present characters that are believable and self-consistent. So this is the big divide between them, right? Obviously, also like the GM also need to have like as the NPC being self-consistent to some extent, right? But when it comes to prep, I'm a big advocate of like no prep or very low prep gaming, because like I said, like I don't like, for me, if you invite me and I feel the rails, right? Like, my channel now is called Off the Rails Roleplay, right? If you invite me over and I feel the rails, I'm just not interested. If you invite me over, tell me a story, I don't fucking care. Go write a fucking book, right? Like that's not what I'm in this hobby for. What's interesting in this hobby is to explore characters. Personify something and those premise, like, and figure out, go in them like earnestly. We're like, oh, we create this premise for this campaign. It's not a story, it's not an outline, it's just a premise, the starting situation. And you need to be earnest and being curious of where it's gonna go. If you know in advance, did I swear? Sorry. In the first 20 minutes, I get passionate. If you know in advance where the game is gonna go, right, and then we're wasting time. Like there's no point of playing it. Like I said, just go write it. But I lost my train of thought now because of the swearing. Sorry.
It's okay. No, there is no rule against swearing here. I just asked that it keeps tempered. I didn't care that you said that. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. So yeah, we're like I'm going there to play a game. I want it to be an honest game where we don't know where it's gonna go. I want to have the freedom of controlling my character from my player. If I'm a GM, I want to be surprised. I want you to, bring something to bring your A game to the table. I want you to be a AI agency player, right? So this is what I expect. So for preps, yeah, much rather like have low prep, because if you start like planning an encounter and stuff like that, the more time you're gonna put into that, the more you're gonna want to use them. And now, like, well, I guess like you plan like that we're gonna fight this ogre, right? The quantum ogre thing.
Yep.
At some point, it's gonna come up. Yeah. That's also why I don't like those battle map and VTT and stuff like that, because if you spend all this time preparing that, well, we can be sure we're gonna need that. So like, there's all those things. I'd rather you come with less, and then everything can go. There's no. I've been told like there's no hold bar. I used to say no hold bar, but apparently that's something different. But yeah, there's no hold bar, right?
No holds barred.
We can
Barred.
yeah, old barred. We can go where we want.
HOLDSBARRED.
Yep.
Holds. In other words, no holds are illegal. So I can choke you or poke your eyes or whatever.
Yeah, it's not no holds with the E.
That's
And
right.
It's not bards like as in the character class.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's barred like banned.
No old bar, but that's what I'm saying. I just cannot say it well. Those are hard words.
That's okay. Some of us have accents. Some of us don't. Some of us have better accents than others.
Yeah.
You guys want to follow up with anything that he was saying there? Again, this is just a reminder for folks that may have been around for the previous version of the show. I'm trying to leave it a lot more open for just back and forth discussion and a lot less lecture-y than it was. So it's going to take us some time to get used to that. But go ahead, sir.
The question was about the dividing line. Like, where do you draw your lines?
Yep.
And I think this is another one where the disagreement's largely in the margins, and it's largely in the details. So to avoid going into definition mode and dictionary mode, because there's a lot of loaded terms like railroad, sandbox, quantum ogre. A lot of these terms have become loaded, and a lot of times they're misused.
Yes.
And I go right back to that road trip analogy. A railroad is a straight line across the country that goes from point A to point B that you are not allowed to turn off of, that you cannot change the direction of. You are hooked to those rails.
Mm-hmm.
A road is not a railroad. And just like in the real world, if stuff's happening around you, sure, if I want to go to Atlanta, I have every single right to get to Atlanta by going to Baton Rouge first. But if I want to get to Atlanta quickly and on time, I need to go east, not west. So when the game master comes out and puts, as we call them, here's a loaded term, hooks in the world, that's no different than me walking outside and seeing something happening in my yard. Oh, I'm being railroaded to go run the dog out of the yard before it craps on my front lawn. Or I can just let it crap on my front lawn, but I don't get to complain later that you railroaded me into scooping poop. It's like you had the opportunity there, all right? The GM, there's two key things, two, I guess you could say, unsung things that the GM should be that I think especially a lot of modern game masters, but a lot of game masters, period, miss. One is that the game master is the sensory perception of the world for the players. Mm-hmm. When the players see something, and I'm gonna rest in peace. Love the guy. Had more than one great interaction with him. But Shauner used to use this 4D role-playing example about the guy walking in. He was like, I'm the player, and I'm walking in, I'm describing the cake I'm picking up, and I'm eating it, and I'm describing the sweet taste and everything. And I'm like, why? Maybe there is no cake. Maybe the NPC that's in there starved to death as part of something, and now you are just creating something where I have to explain how he starved to death with a plate of cakes on the thing. Or why is this cake sweet and nice when this room's been locked for 3 weeks and it should be moldy and disgusting? I'm the sensory perception. The player says, I open the door, and I say, here's what you see in the room. When you say, I want to jump over the gorge, and I say, you can't do that, I'm not saying you can't go jump. I'm saying that your character looks and says, you know what? 60 feet is probably a distance that I can't clear, and if I jump, I'm going to fall to my death. I know that I can't jump over that gorge. That is the sensory perception that the GM provides to the player, and that's part of that divide. So it's about big picture. Okay, I'm going to tell you we're going from Birmingham to Atlanta. I'm going to provide you with some degree of a map that shows you different roads and different ways to get there. If you choose to just walk through the woods and hope you get there, that is 100% on you. And I need to be prepared for that. But you're going to find more things. You're going to find a Buc-ee's on one side and a 7-Eleven on the other, and maybe a few other places that are interesting to stop if you follow one of the roads. I don't need to go out and plan every single stop on every single road. I need to be open and do a minimal prep. It's like, for the next session, I have a pretty decent amount of prep. For 4 or 5 sessions out, all I know is the general direction we're heading so that I can make that pivot and that change in the time. And if you just choose to go walking off into the woods, then we've got some randomness there.
Or if we decide to take a plane.
You could decide to take a plane. You could decide to go to Birmingham Shuttlesworth Airport and take a plane. Maybe the plane is available, maybe it's not. Depends on how the GM has structured the world. How you get those tickets is part of its own adventure. That's part of its own adventure. How do you get them?
Yeah. But like the thing like I would take an exception with, like if you say like, oh, you need to go to Atlanta, right? Like, well, give me a reason that my character would want to go there, right? And in session 0, when we make the plan, stuff like that, there's always like buy-in, right? We say, okay, this is gonna premise we're gonna do Lord of the Ring, like first Matthias saying, like, you need to take this ring to Buc-ee's, right?
Exactly.
So you say, okay, I'm gonna make a character that is motivated to go there. But when you play a long campaign, at some point, like you finished your first goal, and then like you need like the goals that are gonna be subsequent, they need to be like really character driven. That's when we GM, like when we do like a longer campaign, at some point the GM doesn't have to bring plot hook because our character have things they want to do, and they want to tie and stuff like that. So it's just like he can try to foresee a bit what we want to do because like he knows us. We've been playing for a long time. He knows our character and stuff like that. We talked among ourselves about what we want to do, what we're planning on doing, and when, like I said, the character tries to be self-consistent, so we're not just going to swerve for no reason, right? Our character are driven to do something. They're proactive character. But if you just say like, okay, this is the adventure now, we're moving from forgot a town you said, like from Baton Rouge to Atlanta, whatever, and say, well, why would I want to go there? Like, you know, like maybe it doesn't make sense for like if you just like push me like that, that's what it feels a bit annoying, right? It's like, oh, you have no option, and like I decide, well, you know what, let's do this thing instead because they give me a bogus reason that I want to go to Atlanta. And say, well, I can do the same thing if I go to the other town nearby, right? It's like, so let's go there instead. Oh, no, it doesn't fit my campaign, right? It's like, you know, there's a reason to go there outside than the GM told you.
Yeah, you refine the example by we all have agreed that there's a particular type of game we're running. And that's a session 0 thing. We've all kind of agreed on a general goal. But if you say, hey, we're all playing gamers, and I'm like, okay, well, there's a big convention in Atlanta, and the only thing happening in Baton Rouge is an LSU football game. You choosing to go to Baton Rouge means that, yeah, we're going to talk about an LSU football game, but why is your character going that direction? And there's a good chance you're going to miss the convention that's in Atlanta and all the good gamer stuff that's there because you chose to go in the wrong direction. And then if you come back and you want to say, well, you cheated me because I didn't want to be railroaded to the convention, but then I missed all of this stuff and the game was unsatisfying. It's like, well, you were given character-driven reasons why you want to go there, and you chose to instead be more, I guess you could say, more gamist, more of a gamer, and play from the meta level and say, well, you know, the GM obviously wants me to go that way. I'm just not going to go that way because I don't want to be railroaded.
But
mean,
the two
I can only
extreme
give you the birthday
like
present. I can't make you open it.
just being a contrarian is also a problem in itself, right? I don't mean like that this you know, I don't like, oh there seems to be like a plot there, like I'm gonna go the other way just to be a jerk. Like that's not what I'm preaching. But it's also like the other side, like when you have, you have a GM with those plot point and the storyline and those plot code prepared, right? Now you don't think in like, you don't necessarily think in character anymore, which is what I want to do. I want to be like, when I play those games, what I want to do is put myself in the mindset of my character, right? Like hijack my own mindset with the mindset of the character. I want to make all my decisions in character. But now if I have to play this game of like, guess what the GM planned, right? Guess what the GM thought of, right? And try to follow along and play along and stuff like that. Like, well, now I'm gonna not be in character anymore necessarily, right?
Well,
So
you do agree with me that the world is the GM's character, correct? I
no,
believe you actually used that terminology earlier, that the world and the NPCs and what
the
goes on.
NPCs are the GM's character.
Yeah, this is the world itself is the character of the GM. So if I've put myself into a world, things happen in that world.
The
If
world is not really a character. I don't see the
not
world
to
really as a
explore
character.
them as your character, that's not me making plot points. That's me providing a world that has stimulus in it. You can choose how to react to or which stimuluses to ignore or react to, but putting stimulus in there, if you are acting as your character, you should respond to the stimulus, not the concept that I put it there. Just like I should respond to what your character does, not the idea of I've tried to figure out what you're trying to do with whatever feats or abilities or skills your character sheet has. I should be thinking of you as a character as well.
I don't see the world as a character, because like then you end up with like, oh, let's not go to the Moria, let's go to the mountain, and then like suddenly like, the mountain come alive and there's big blizzard and stuff like that, and then okay, I guess we don't really have an option. We have to go to the fucking Moria, right? It's like, so you end up like having like those shitty situations.
The world is a character. I'm not talking about like actively the world working against the players or for a specific thing, but I'm talking about like, if I know that I'm playing in the early 1800s, early 1800s, and I know for a fact that Napoleon is taking charge of France, I am acting on how is Napoleon responding to this and what is he doing. I am controlling that aspect of the world, and when you as a player move your game piece, I have to decide how the world reacts to that and what happens. If you ignore Napoleon, he continued to invade Austria. You know,
absolutely.
If you did something to screw him up, maybe he goes to what would it be, Prussia at that time or something instead.
Yeah, but absolutely, but you don't get to decide if the character's goal necessarily is to stop Napoleon or not.
No,
maybe they
but
want
I
to
get
side
to
with him.
decide what happens as a result of their actions or inactions.
Yeah.
Malarkey, I'm sorry.
You're good. You're good. It's like the story I heard where these characters are hired to help prevent an invading army from taking over this port city. Well, they don't do any of that. They do all this other stuff throughout the city. They completely ignore what they were hired to do. And they're surprised when the army invades, takes over the port city, and captures them and puts them up for trial and execution. It's like, there is a living world there. That's the one thing I think a lot of people have to remember on both sides. And that, in my opinion, is mainly the GM's responsibility.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Realism is very important in gaming, to be perfectly honest. There's a lot of people who bucket that and hate the term realism, but realism is extremely important. You must have a world that makes sense within itself.
Yeah, that's why the term has been used so much that people kind of get tired of it. But like the verisimilitude world, the term, right? The verisimilitude, like that's that's not necessarily realistic, but it's like it's believable within its own rules, right? It's like believable.
To interject here, the reason why I don't like the word realism is because of how others. It's kind of like story gaming. I actually don't have a problem with story gaming. It's just how people have used the term. When they say realism, they expect it to mimic Earth directly. Like, well, this is what happens on real world Earth. Well, this isn't real world Earth. That's the only reason why I kind of have a hang up with realism. But the way Daniel describes it, I agree with him completely on that.
Yeah, like on this railroading. Like on this planet, for this game, the gravity is equal to Mars, so you could do things you can't do on Earth.
Yeah.
Well,
but then you must keep everything within those bounds.
Exactly.
Once you
Like I
establish
said
something,
earlier,
when you establish something in the world, then the other thing in the world need to work with that thing that you established, right? So you
yeah.
cannot just like change it. Like that's a big important point. Yes.
Yeah. And we do have like I mentioned this a second ago, but we do have a situation, especially in our hobby in tabletop role playing games. There is a serious definitions issue in so many things have been completely misused. Railroading is one that I harp on a lot because railroad implies force, and a railroad has a specific definition. But we've gotten to this point where a certain segment of the hobby defines railroad as any guidance whatsoever that may influence a player's actions.
And I might be guilty of that, to be honest. Like I'm very like, if it looks like there's rail, like the rails can be like fucking 20 miles wide. I'm saying like I'm not getting on that shit, man. I hate trains.
There you go. Like I said, you just need to learn the difference between a railroad and a road.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to throw in one quick question here for all three of you. And again, I start with Mr. Max because it's still a segment here. And that's how does each style affect character development, character motivation, whatever, over a long campaign? And how do you see, because, I want to stir up some controversy here, and how do you see it more negative in the other style?
I find like when we're playing like GM driven type of game, right? When the GM has basically a story or a plot you want to tell, like you want to explore or you want to expand upon, right? He knows, oh, now there's gonna be like this is the bad guy, and there's gonna be this climatic battle at the end that's gonna end up there. It requires a lot more buying from the player, that they have to pick on the cues and follow where the breadcrumb that the GM is putting out, like to some extent, right? They might take a swerve, they might take a detour and stuff like that, but they always have to keep that in mind because they know the GM will want to bring you to that climatic battle or whatever, at that conclusion, right? And when we play like collaborative game, it's much more like it's kind of like the GM has to be reactive, right? It's kind of like flipped on his head. The GM has to pick on the clue of the character goals and build the campaign in function of that, right? You can always go so far that, like in one session I had, maybe something like that. But that'll be the big difference. And I like the later, both as a player and as a GM, because I always found that exploring the character, when you watch a movie, when you read a book, a good movie, a good book, what makes them interesting is about character development, character arcs, and stuff like that. Much more than the plot itself or the world, right? It's not about exploring the world. Like a shitty sci-fi movie, shitty sci-fi book or fantasy book, do that, right? They have like paper thin character that are just there to showcase the world, right? And that's why they fail. That's why nobody fucking care, because like, we human being, we relate to other people, especially like non-autistic people. Non-autistic human being relate to other people. That's a problem in the hobby, right? There's a lot of nerds that like the loredom and stuff like that. They're deep in the detail. But that's
it's like it's a Star Wars fandom. They want an explanation for everything, and everybody has to be connected to somebody.
And they know what happened on page 300 of some random book that nobody read.
And they can tell you like all the stat from this ship and that ship, and like normal people don't care about that. What we care about is the human art, right? Like the connection, the motivation of people, and they say, oh yeah, man, I can see that. Like this character is very interesting, like it's inspiring and stuff like that. And it's the same thing for me when I play RPG. That's what I connect with when I have characters that are interesting, that you see evolving, that you see developing, right? Much more than, oh, there was a big wizard and a big fight, and there was like 5 fire golem at the end, and that doesn't ring deep, right? It's just like, oh, it's exciting. It's like going on a roller coaster ride versus like learning something about human nature. So that's what I say. Like the collaborative style allow you to learn about the human nature. While the other one, you're gonna ride.
There's a great counter to that, and here's what that great counter is. If I roll back to this bookshelf and I grab that copy of Fellowship of the Ring, and I open it up, what I find is a story about these great characters as they go on a journey during a turbulent time in the world where there's a war happening and where this ring needs to be destroyed. What I don't open up is a book about how the hobbits did their gardening, had second breakfast, and went and danced on the table at the inn, and then went back home and then did it again the next day. Because we don't care about stories that happen during regular, boring time.
Well,
it's the reason why when people study history, 9 times out of 10, they're going to study the war and not the time.
That I'm French, and that those are the books that we read and write.
Well, I mean, it's okay. We can have books about surrendering. But anyway, the long and short of it here is that what makes a story interesting for the character is there has to be a triggering incident that makes that character take action and change. They either have to grow or they have to regress, or they have to be in some way lessened or strengthened by staying the same. There has to be some outside external stimulus that highlights that character and tells the reader why it's important. And when you take that to the tabletop role-playing game side, and we're looking at D&D or anything else like that, the game master is providing those stimuli for that character to grow in. How they grow is entirely up to how the players play the character. Maybe that thief becomes a real bastard.
Yep.
Maybe he becomes worse and worse and worse, or maybe he becomes better and more altruistic. Maybe that paladin becomes jaded, or maybe he really digs into his code and his ethos, and he becomes even more of a paragon through whatever stimulus is there. And the game master is there to provide that stimulus to give those characters that room to grow, not necessarily to direct it. Now, you have to be careful. If you get too rigid, and it depends on play style and what the players want and what everybody's trying to do, which, that's where a good session zero comes in and just good communication. You don't want your story so rigid that you force characters into development paths, which I would argue is worse than railroading a story. Me giving you a very defined linear path in game where you have to take certain actions is nowhere near as bad as me forcing your character to have to grow in a specific way in order to succeed.
Okay. Malachi, any final comments on that before we get ready to go into our second question?
No, I think I'm good. I got what I wanted to say. I mean,
No problem.
Yep.
All right. Well, awesome. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to all the panelists channels. Your support helps keep the conversation going and reach more tabletop RPG fans. Coming up soon in segment 2, our panelists will discuss influence control and risks of overreach. Focus a little bit more on the player character side. However, before we do that, we're going to read some super chats and member comments. No super chats. We went through one segment with no super chats. I'm embarrassed. This was the show that everybody said, I can't wait till you come back so I can start throwing money at you again. And nobody threw money.
Bastards.
I blame
It's
Mr.
my
Max.
fault.
That's fair.
It's me. I'm antithetical to super chats.
Fair enough. There we go. But I do have some member comments on here. By the way, I am paying attention. Some of you probably noticed it, to the chat that's going on in the fact. Do we have any? Oh, okay. It's like almost all member chats. Like, wow. How many viewers?
It's
we only
a
have
lot.
42 watching too. But that's cool. There's definitely some subscribers in there. That's good. I was like, am I doing members only now? I didn't notice. But all right, let's get to what we have. I do have some members' comments, and backtrack. I was reading the comments. This is what I
You
wanted
do have
to
a new
say.
member.
And I do. I'll hit that in a second here. Thank you for the conversation. If I don't get to your chat, well, I don't get to it, but I do appreciate everybody that is here. So we have a new member. I think he did it before the show started, though. JCTXC boy. When I see letters and weird combinations like that, I get a little nervous, but thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate that. Edgelord, new member. Actually, I think he's been around a while. But thank you.
Edgelord King.
What's that? Oh, that's
It's
right.
Edgelord
Edgelord King.
King.
Not just an Edgelord. Edgelord King.
Yeah.
Pardon
I
me.
know you American don't like kings, but
And talking about Edgelord King, he says, I let the players world build if I'm making it from scratch. What are your thoughts on that?
One thing I fucking hate is lore dump. Again, when you watch a movie, when you read a book, good one don't start with fucking lore-dump, right? They don't like you learn, you figure out the world by reading, by watching the movie, and I think that's valid also for role-playing game, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the session 0, you go with the premise, you go with the big line, the general picture, the tone, the theme, and stuff like that, and you keep things fairly fluid and fairly flu, so they can be the resolution can be increased through play. And I think that really makes it interesting and makes the player much more invested. It avoid having the player asking question about the world all the time, and you don't get lost in the sauce of like, oh yeah, like the third king of this kingdom was cursed, and then like those long story, right? Like, yeah, come up with it when it become relevant, right? It's like don't ask me to read the Bible before I play your game.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on that same side. I'm against lore dumps. I found an actual play. I started watching it on Tubi. I think in half an hour I turned it off because like, oh, this is just one big ass lore dump. I want to find this out with the players as everything progresses. That is, my opinion, the best way to do it.
That's
Yeah.
why I hate live plays. All right, like Critical Roles and stuff like that. I can't stand them. And part of it's because you should not have lore dumps. Lore dumps do not happen in session. If the important lore to the world goes out sometimes before session 0 or as session 0, it's like, hey guys, here is the stuff that you might want to know about the background of this world while you're developing your character. You can read it, not read it, whatever you want to do, but just so you know, this is the kind of thing that you, as a person who exists in this world, should have some general idea about in recent history. If you're lore dumping during a session, you are not doing your job properly because that's not what anybody's there for. It's bad in writing and it's bad in D&D.
Yeah.
And it's bad on YouTube.
Yeah, you should be bringing that stuff up when it's important and when it's meaningful.
Yeah. But to the question, to Edgelord King's question here, or to his statement rather, a lot of that depends on your definition of world building. All right, your players should absolutely be helping build and flesh out the world because there are people who exist in it. Their reactions to it matter. And they don't want to play characters that have no impact, at least on their little corner of that world. So they're going to influence how that world works and help build it out as they go. But at the same time, referencing back to good old Shauner and the cake example, what they do not need to be doing is saying, well, I come from the mountain that's right over there. It's like, well, what mountain? This is a archipelago nation, or this is a plains nation. There's not a mountain for 5,000 leagues. So no, you're not from the mountain next door. You don't get to create the stuff that exists that doesn't exist.
Yeah, but that's the thing too, right? Like as a GM, if you didn't properly establish that it was like a plain nation that was flat for 500 miles, then that's kind of you. Like you need to establish those things if they are important, right? If they're not important, that means like somebody else can establish it, and then like you need to be fluid in my opinion, right? Like because it just makes the game slimmer, and if it doesn't matter anyway, right? Okay, fine. There's mountain now, right? It's like I didn't think there were, but now there is.
Every last one of us is familiar with this example. It's like, okay, guys, let's figure out what you guys want to play for this campaign I got coming up.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to play a moon elf bard wizard, and it's like, well, it's a low magic world, and there's no such thing as a moon elf. But I want to be a moon elf. I just had a guy who was trying to join my 3.5 game had been brought in, and he just wanted to argue in my Discord over and over about how he wanted to play a goblin. And I was like, goblins are unintelligent and wholly evil in this world. They are stupid, animalistic, and evil. So no, well, I want to be the good goblins. Like, there's no exception. That's not how their brain works. Their genetic chemistry does not allow for that. So stop pushing.
Those are problem players, I find. Like, like for me, like I like a player that want to play human, right? I want to play like, to be honest, because like people say like, oh, but I'm human in real life. I say, if you cannot find something interesting,
I feel deja vu. Did we not just have this conversation the other day?
Yeah, all the time. That is different than you, right? You don't get what role playing is about, right? Like there's so much variety in humanity, right? But even if you go like in the special race and stuff like that, like if you just want to do like the thing that is so unique and stuff like that, you're gonna rely on a gimmick, and you're not gonna have a character. You're not gonna play a character. You're gonna play a fucking gimmick. So that's annoying. But like,
well, a lot of this is going to be good for the next segment.
yeah, okay,
And I am trying to keep us on a little bit of a clock here. So
Yes, sorry.
I'm going to go on to the next question. So we had Sergeant Mushroom says, input is fine, but ultimately the world is mine to run.
That's the winner.
Okay.
I do agree that the GM has a final say, right? Even though like I don't like when the GM say no, like let's say like, oh, let's go to the, like I said, let's go to the fishmonger across the street, and the GM said no, there's no fishmonger. For some reason, it's important there's no fishmonger, right? Like, I think that's a crass way to do it. You can just say like, oh, they're closed, oh, the shop burned. You can add something if you want to block it. If it's important for some reason that there's no fishmonger, you can block it in a more elegant way. If the player just introduced it, so you always have your way out, right? And it's also more challenging running that way. Which challenge is good. Like, you should challenge yourself. Like, it's part of the game, in my opinion.
You should be open as a game master. You know, adaptability and improvisation are two very key GM traits.
Yeah.
You should be able to adapt to this goes right back to realism. You should be able to adapt to perfectly logical, inane suggestions or inferences from players.
Yep.
All right. So if you say, hey, I'm going to grab a loaf of bread and they're at a baker shop, that shouldn't be a problem. Well, there's no bread unless there is a real reason why there is no bread.
Yep. And if there's a reason why there's no bread, it's a big deal. It's probably been introduced already, right? Oh,
exactly. When I was the player's perception, I said, you walk into the baker and there's no bread at the bakery.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, Malachi, anything to add?
No, they got it. Hey,
when he said that he was the middle of the road guy, what he meant was he just agrees with both of us the entire time.
Squirrel Hermit is member for 18 months. Thank you very much. Kickstarter TMNT in hand. Huzzah! Awesome.
Oh,
I am still I got my personal one. I'm still waiting. I don't have an email or anything about the ones for Legion of Myth that I plan to do for giveaways at some point in the future. So apparently somebody made a comment in my Discord that I'm actually thinking is a little more true than I hope to be. It's like, well, they may have thought that since you ordered twice, that second one was a fluke or was wrong because it had the same address but a different name. Because one went to my personal, one went to Legion of Myth, same address though. I don't know, but congratulations. I hope you're liking it so far. And then all the pity money started coming in.
Yep.
Edgelord King, thank you very much. My animate Malachi spell failed. Yes, it did. But you know what? We've all tried. We've even used wish spells, and you know what? Those failed too. I aged a year and didn't get anything out of it. It's a good job.
Yeah,
just a year.
Realize something harder.
Here's some money. Welcome back. Thank you, Lord Mattias, and thanks for having me on your show the other week. That was a fun time. Hopefully we can do that again. What's that?
Is it Mattias? Like, this is the
I
thing.
said Lord Mattias for years, but he says Mattias.
Okay, that's what, because I have been meaning to ask him for a long time and just haven't gotten around to it. Because I call him both on my channel, Mattias and Mattias. I always said Mattias to start with, and I'm like,
so did I.
Is it Mattias? Is it Mattias?
But thank you for the $2 and you as well, Edgelord. Appreciate that very much. Squirrel Hermit pops in with the big $50. Squirrel Hermit, here you go. Here's my cheap alcohol. I'm not going to tell these guys what it is because they're talking about like actual quality alcohol before the
stream. They were.
And then I'm nope, not. It's the same thing I've been drinking on the streams for about the last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Squirrel Hermit. I appreciate that. You're awesome. Hope you had a happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and I hope everybody is healthy.
Oh.
Just
so you know, that's why bourbon's great. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get good quality. Evan Williams Bottled and Bond is like $10, and it's awesome.
But Squirrel Hermit says I have to quit my whining. I don't know. All right. Sergeant Mushroom for $2. Have some cash. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I didn't know whining was actually going to work. It never did in the past. So I kind of feel guilty now. But thank you very much, Sergeant Mushroom. Zeg Media, good to see you, Bear. Member for 1 month. He's actually been a member for a lot longer. He's just got a different account now. And Good to see you here. Thank you very much. We don't do, by the way, we don't do a giveaway on this show anymore. I'm already so far behind segment 1. I got to get to segment 2 here real quickly. Full Metal Dragon member for 46 months. I don't know if
Wow.
Crafty's still a member, because if he is, he's still got you beat, but not by much.
Yeah, it's almost 2 years.
Says a great New Year's
4 years.
for all, 4 years, yeah. Great New Year for all Coalition sympathizers and TMNT fans and Canadians, I guess. Thank you. Thank you for that. Oh, God. Law Dog for $50. Thank you. Making it up. I just want everybody to know I will not get drunk on stream. If I have to cut myself off, I apologize to anybody who donates $50 that I... But I'll do one more right now. But thank you, Law Dog, for the $50. I appreciate that. And then we are going to get into our second segment. Appreciate all this. And just so you guys know, these guys are also taking the time out of their day, and I'm going to give an online thank you here to Jade real quickly, because Jade, I did a boo-boo, and I gave Jade the link to this like he was on the show, even though he was scheduled as backup. So he planned out his day to be on here, and then I had to boot him. So everybody should thank Jade as well, because I kind of did him wrong on that right there. But thank you, Jade. But Law Dog, here you go. And I'm not going to have another one for at least one segment, but thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your support. If I start acting loopy, it's these guys' fault. All right, let's get into segment 2. Now, I'm supposed to ask you who you are, what content you create, and what your tabletop RPG experience is, but you kind of already answered that. But if you want to give a quick rundown again, Daniel, you can, else I can just jump right into the question.
No, it's real simple. Go over Driving and Dragons. I do a live stream every first and third Thursday. I do intelligence as a dump stat, and I try to talk about, more in depth, like third, fourth level down role playing stuff. And Corvid Codex, my Kickstarter is live. Support my people, because they all worked really hard to make it something that you guys should all love. It's pulp anthology.
And the link for that is in the description. By the way, the links that these guys gave me are all in the description. Either subscribe to their channel or Substack. Check out that Kickstarter. You're going to want to do that. All right, Daniel, this question is for you. Mm-hmm. In your view, how much authority over the game world, such as adding locations, factions, twists, or NPC motives, can players hold before the focus, challenge, and surprise begin to erode, or just becomes too crazy? Like, calm down, dude. And what concrete advantages have you seen when the GM loosens the rein or keeps tight control over the elements instead?
Well, it's all about balance. Everything in life is about balance. Excessive, anything taken to excess is bad. You get too tight and too rigid, you have no flexibility in the world. It starts to lose its realism. It starts to feel driven, which is not what you want. If you loosen it too much, it goes far too gonzo. And you have to be able to adapt the play style. There's nothing wrong with the gonzo game. You can have a hex crawl where we literally have zero idea what the next hex is, and you can have a good time with it. However, if we're talking about the idea of building a collaborative story that is coherent as a group, and we teach this as a collective storytelling effort, there has to be some guide in there. And I've always said this, the extent of the player's agency ends at their skin. Now, if they want to say something like, hey, we came into this woodland village and I need to find a Boyer Fletcher, they're probably going to have a Boyer Fletcher, or at the very least, the GM can say, well, there is no Boyer Fletcher, but you do see some arrows up on the wall at the blacksmith shop. And it turns out that the blacksmith also makes arrows and whatnot for the local hunters. They may not be the best quality, but they're there. You can make those adaptations. At the end of the day, if it's outside your player's skin, the GM controls it, and the GM provides you the sensory input of the world for you to react to and deal with. The players should not be willing things into the world. And you can call me a Baptist on this one if you want to.
Baptist.
If you're a Baptist, there's a very strict through line to Baptist theology. Rather than me say this much of something is good, but this much is bad, they just say don't. So instead of saying this kind of dancing is okay, and this kind of dancing is sinful and temptation, they just say no dancing. Instead of saying, well, drinking is okay, but getting drunk is not, they just say no drinking. It's a very easy way to just make a very hard line. If you don't do it at all, there's no way you can do too much.
Oh, I'm very much Catholic in that sense. We have confession.
Well, I think we have 2 Catholics and 2 Lutherans here, so we can all dunk on the.
I'm about
At
as
least
Catholic
former
as they
Lutheran.
come. Like I said, I'm about as Catholic as they come when it comes to things that are important. But when it comes to gaming, the simple fact of the matter is, when it comes to agency, think about it philosophically, like John Locke said. What is true freedom? Freedom means that I can wave my hand in front of your face as much as I want to, as long as I don't hit you. That's the same thing. The player can wave their player's arms around as much as they want to, as long as they don't start hitting my world or hitting the world. Yep. They can influence it. They can change. Now, I'm not talking, that's not a literal definition, because agency means that I can punch you in the face. It doesn't mean I can be successful at it or that I can control your reaction to it.
Yeah.
And that goes both ways. So you have to let it be informed by the style of play you're having. If you're going to have like a kind of off the wall, wacky gonzo game, by all means, let them say that there's a volcano in the middle of town.
Yeah.
But if you want to build a story that has consistency, that everybody looks back and talks about, man, let me tell you about this cool time that this other player did something at my table, or this happened in our story. If you want that to happen, you have to have that one person directing, that one guy making the soup. You give me your spices and stuff like that, but I have to decide how we direct that in order for it to be consistent.
But I disagree. You can have a good gonzo game, and I give you riffs for that.
You don't think you can have a good gonzo game?
I'm just saying they don't tend to last that long, and they don't make the best stories that are most consistent and coherent.
Yeah.
I don't know, Malachi. I want to actually challenge you myself on that real quickly, because
really?
I get what you're saying. I know I'm not supposed to, but I'm also a Palladium guy here, so
yeah.
I don't see riffs as gonzo. Like I know what you're saying, and I might use that term incorrectly. I actually think that riffs is very well made for telling long-term campaigns in such a different variety. When I think gonzo, I think more like Avengers Chult. Something that's just something that's just so over the top. You play it a couple times as something to do on the side, but you can't take the game seriously for more than 10 minutes.
Or what was his other game? Countercritical? That he bought?
Oh, yeah. I forget the name of it. We covered it.
Yeah.
You also had that like Code Blue or whatever it's called.
Code Blue is what I was thinking about.
Anyway, I didn't mean to jump in too much there, but I just wanted to put that out there. I guess maybe that is a gonzo game. It's just when I think gonzo, I think
Countercritical is he ported it over to Chult.
Alpha Blue. There it is. Okay.
Alpha Blue, yeah.
Anyway, were you going to add anything more to that, Malachi, as far as PCs adding game world locations, twists, NPC motives, yada yada yada?
The only time I, as a GM, am okay with stuff like that is at the beginning, when after you've created a character and you're working on fleshing out their backstory. If you want to bring in, like, if you want to name the town they come from, maybe a faction their family was involved in or something, that's fine. That gives me a chance to work it in to any world building if I have to. But otherwise, if it's coming up during gameplay, it's going to be hard for me to give it a yes. It's going to be hard for me just to do a yes on it. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, that's interesting. Like you're like much less middle of the road than I expected on that, because like obviously for me, right, it's like if it hasn't been defined already, and it doesn't go against the logic of the world, and you respect the tone, right? Also, I want to say like I don't like gonzo, right? I think gonzo like generally like unserious, and they quickly become like competition of like who can be the most stupidest thing, right? Like who can include the next stupidest thing. Yeah. So you kind of lose the in-character motivation a bit for player. Like it become like an improv game, right? We're just like who can be the funniest. Anyway, this was a bit in the side.
Apologies.
I can see where you're coming from with it if it's not already established in the game world, where the player brings it up. I mean, but if I had already had something planned that maybe I haven't revealed yet, then it's
But
probably
it also
gonna
go
get
like I disagree a bit with what Daniel was. Yeah, Daniel was saying about I'm the sensory I'm the sensory input of the character, right? Like we tend to not see things in that way. We say the GM is the narrator, right? You don't like I don't like saying, although sometimes I do because it's a bad habit to break, but I don't like when a GM say you see, you hear, you feel. Just describe what's there. Just you don't say like, oh, you see a table. Just like there's a table. Because
Okay.
maybe my character is looking somewhere else. Maybe I didn't see it yet, right? Like I often use an example like if you say you see, you kind of force me to react to the input right away, right? Maybe like we come across a monster or some sort, right? Like, it's a man, right? In overcoat and stuff like that. And then I look something in my bag, but then like at some point the monster take off his hat and there's like a mouth in front on the forehead, whatever, right? It's like with the GM say you see a mouth in the forehead, now I kind of have to react to it right away. If you just see like the guy take off his hat, there's a mouth in his forehead, without saying that I see it, I can decide my character didn't see it yet, and I complete another action before putting my eyes, and now I can react when I feel opportune, or I can wait, I can let another character react to it. You get what I mean? It's that's very in the weed. It's very like little detail.
Yeah.
But it's like
it's very semantic as well.
Yeah. Like I'm saying, it's very
basically predicated on the fact that you're saying you see. Now, something more along the lines of like you taste. Yes, I am going to, as the GM, tell you how something you eat tastes.
Yeah,
for
but
a lot of reasons. Because there might be a reason why it doesn't taste the way it's supposed to.
You can just say the cake is sweet. You don't need to say like you taste the. It's very semantic, and like I say, it's very in the weed. Like we don't have to debate about that because like that's very like we're far from there, right? It's like, but it's just like oftentimes saying those words like they don't add anything, and I think as a GM also it's better to have like an economy of word, which may seem ironic coming from me. But if something has not been established, if it respects the tone of the world, if you respect the logic of the world, I don't mind a character creating something, right? It doesn't mean that it's as long as they don't create also an advantage for themselves directly, right? They don't say like, oh, there's a like people always say like, and that's the I trust gaming coming in. Like you don't say like, oh, I go pick up the shotgun over the mental, right? It doesn't make sense for it to be there. And all of a sudden, like, it has been mentioned, it's maybe not tone appropriate or setting appropriate. Sometimes it is, right? Which you have to judge. You have to trust your player for that. But then that's giving you a direct advantage right away. And that's a faux pas. That, again, you can always say, like, well, yeah, you pick up the shotgun, it's a reproduction, right? Or it's a fake. It's just there for decoration, whatever, right? There you go. The problem is solved.
It's a bit of an aside, but I had a discussion a little earlier, and it is relevant. But I had a discussion a little bit earlier on X, and we were talking about describing different things and having red herrings or unnecessary information, misleading information in a mystery game. And one of the points I made that this is where narrative gaming really, really shines out over the very, like, say, the very hardcore adventuring OSR style play that you get, like say from the Bro SR, where they militantly anti against stories. If I make a habit of very thoroughly describing scenes, like when you walk into a room as a character and I describe that very well, you don't end up in these situations where just because you mentioned something, a player grabs it and runs off with it forever. So, great example from a game from I got some meta people in my Sunday game. I go in there and I'm like, their boat pulls up to the dock, and I mentioned that they noticed a man coughing on the dock. And I have one player who immediately says, I grab a 10-foot pole, I jump back, I'm not getting off the boat, and I'm not letting anybody back come on. This place has plague. All right.
No, I get what you're saying.
If you put in that level of detail all the time, people don't always seize on.
You don't create like those what I would call like accidental highlight, right? You like you just like now, oh, all of a sudden you put a detail now, like they're gonna hang out to that. I get that. The way I see also like the one reason I like the letting people co-create, right? It's like for me like it makes the description much lighter, right? I don't have to. I don't like describing everything in the room because also like it takes a long time. Oftentimes it's not relevant, and people stop listening after a while and they get bored, right? Like if you can just like, yeah,
3 sentences.
But,
that's what WotC found out in their research. 3 sentences, and then people tune out.
Yeah, it's a balance thing, just like everything else. Yep. You mentioned the shotgun over the fireplace. If my players are used to me giving at least moderately detailed descriptions, they know that there's not a shotgun over the fireplace, because if there was, I would have said it, because that's a major thing.
Well, depending on the tone and the setting and stuff like that, there's some place like if you go into a British hunting lodge, right? Yeah, there probably is one, right? It's like it's not like, and sometimes I don't care. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Let's see what's gonna come up with that. Like you just pick up that shotgun, right? And again, it's easy to say like, well, there's no shell, right? It's not necessarily loaded, right? So it might just be like you're gonna threaten something with it, and they might call your bluff, right? But it takes the scene in something interesting too, so it might just let it roll. But like if you say like oftentimes the example like we use, like if you're in a castle and you go into the Lord's bedroom, right? I don't necessarily need to. I don't want to describe, or you go in an office, right, in the 1920s. I don't necessarily want to have to describe every little detail because like you say, like people are gonna check out, right? People are gonna check out, and it takes long. It's slow on the pace, so you can just say like. You just set the tone, right? It's dimly lit. It's a dirty office. There's a typewriter on the table, a pile of paper, coffee stain on the carpet. And the rest, the creaky chair. Yeah, there's probably some chair. It's an office, right? People go there, right? It's like, so there's probably like filing cabinet. I don't want to have to say everything. And if we have disagreement, the player can just fill in the blank themselves in their mind. So instead of just imagining those empty scenes with only the element that I've put in, they can fill in the room, right? They have an idea. They've seen a movie. They've read a book. They've seen rooms in real life. Hopefully, you play with people that went outside of their basement once in a while, so they've seen stuff, right? So that they can picture this place and fill in those blank. You talk about a bakery, like you can say it's a bakery, it's well kept, right? You give the tone and stuff like that, like the thing that are important that set the pace, and then they can say, oh, okay, there's probably a counter with bread, maybe some pastry, there's probably a cash register, there's probably like some inscription in the window, right? Or whatever, right? Maybe there's a bell in the door. Although that's something nice to mention because when they come in, that's one of the first impression.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling.
But yeah, you give this license for the player to fill in the blank and interact with the world. Like that's oftentimes something we say when it's your turn. You shouldn't just do dialogue. You should have your character interact with the world because people do that, right? So you just say like you just don't spew your line to the NPC that is there, because then you're gonna turn out into a floating head in everybody's mind, right? People like don't picture the scene in their mind. They're just floating head saying stuff. But if you could just say like, I go close to the counter and lean a bit forward, and then you say your line, right? Now all of a sudden the plays become real. Now there's this counter, right? Now there's like you say like I roll a finger in the penny plate, and then I say nonchalantly whatever, right? Just like you add those little detail. Like I didn't say it was a penny plate, but why not, right? It fit in the world, fit in the context. But now you can interact with that, making it up as you go. It's not very important in the big picture of thing, but it gives so much texture to the world. It fills the picture so in, right, that it become a believable place. So that's why I like it. That's why I'm willing to let the player go a bit wild with those things, right? It's interesting. And if sometimes they go too far, maybe they go too far, but you say, yeah, let's see where that's gonna go. Let's roll with it. Why not, right?
Well, here's a thought, like this whole shotgun example. Growing up, I would never have seen a shotgun on top of a fireplace. It had always been in a gun cabinet and locked up.
Yeah.
What as a player, if another player says there's about the shotgun over the fireplace, and I respond, well, there's no shotgun over the fireplace. That should be locked up. How do we resolve this?
Like I said, it can be a fake. It can be there. It can be unloaded, or disabled, right? It can whatever. Like you can.
No. I'm saying no. There is no shotgun. There should be a no. There would be a deer head over the fireplace, not a shotgun. Like something completely different.
If you didn't say it, why does it matter? Like why you need as a GM, you need to remain flexible. That's what I'm saying.
Well, what I'm saying is
between the two players, one is saying, well, the shotgun should be put up. There should be a deer head over the thing. Now, I guess you could say first come, first serve.
Yes, first come, first serve. Yeah, once something get defined, like now the other people like adjust their mental picture to it. You know, you keep. That's what I'm saying. You keep the resolution kind of low at first. Things are kind of like blurry, but the more you move in the scene, the more you interact with the scene, the more the detail get refined, and then things get very alive.
And I can say something along the lines of, you actually you experience a little momentary confusion, because where there should be a shotgun, there isn't one. Where you expected there to be a shotgun, there isn't one.
You could, but like I said, like, you know, I think there's like more elegant way to do it, and it's a skill that you can develop too with time, right? It's like, and it's for me, it's also part of the fun, right? So like this give and take, this push, you know, like, oh, you're bringing something, but I like that kind of fucked me up. I remember like one example, like I was running this game, right, and they're hunting for a witch, or accused witch. I don't know if she's a witch or just a girl that ran away. They've been accused, right? Whatever. And the guy say, "Oh, I pick up like the diary of the girl," and I didn't set the diary, but you know, all right, fair. Let's roll with it. Like, it makes sense, a diary. So he tried to go to the last page and say like, there's a bunch of page that have been tore up, right? That's my way of saying like, I'm not, like, I don't know, I don't have anything ready for that. I don't have anything in mind for that, right? So okay, you found a diary, but I'm gonna put kind of a stop to it, right?
Now we have to figure out why it's tore up.
Yeah, but that add to the mystery. But it buy me some time as a GM to think about something, right? But now another player say, "Oh, I look at the diary and I take some charcoal from my bag, and I rub on the page to get the impression of the last." I said, "Oh man, like that's fucking clever, right?" So now I have to come up with something now on the spot, and I do, right? But it's so satisfying because like seeing your player coming up with something clever like that, right? Getting the diary was clever. I thought I was clever saying the page was tore up, but I got out clever by this good player, right? So for me, that's you know, that's like I often say, that's the fucking game. That's where the crux of the game. The game is not just rolling dice. That's the game. That's this back and forth, this give and take, this like push and pull, right? That's where the games lie. Rolling dice is part of it. It's to add something like something that's unpredictable, but this is also it.
Well, as far as I guess you could say a controversial statement, I'll say this, and this has been one of my philosophies for a long time, is that as a game master, your goal should always be to roll dice last. Dice rolling should be the absolute last resort to adjudicate a situation. If it can be adjudicated logically without rolling dice, you should not be rolling dice.
I do agree.
That is a stand-in for, we have to resolve this, and we have to resolve it in kind of a neutral way. So that's why like an attack or an attempt at something that there is a chance of failure or success, or there's an opposition to, requires a die roll. But you shouldn't be rolling things arbitrarily. Like some of the best sessions in the world have no dice rolls at all.
Malaka, you disagree with that?
There should be arbitrary dice rolls, not to determine whether or not something happens, but just to keep players on their edge, thinking something's going to happen.
All right, Barry.
I do that, and it works wonderfully.
It does.
I don't necessarily disagree with you, Daniel. Like I don't tend to roll dice when they're not needed as a GM, but I also have like this thing that is controversial too, that I tell my player, you can make your own roll, right? All of my players also have GM at some point, so we all like switch and stuff like that. And I say, oftentimes, like if you try to do something that you know is going to be difficult and stuff like that, you can make your own role for it, and then like go straight to the role play. You know, like you're gonna try to you know what you need to succeed or to fail and stuff like that, right? So if you want to influence how your characters succeed, right? Go ahead, right? You try to, oh, let me try if I can decipher that, right? Like, so you make your language roll, right? Like, maybe I'm gonna give you a hint on difficulty. Just make
Absolutely
the
not.
roll.
Absolutely not.
then-
Standing
but then-
roll at my table. If you roll dice that I didn't ask for a roll, that's wasted.
But it can be wasted. But like what I like about it is like they can go straight to. We don't have to say, oh, I'm gonna try to read it. I'm say, okay, roll linguistic, and then they roll. Say, oh, that's a failure, right? Because I trust them enough that they can just like, okay, I'm gonna try to read that. I'm gonna try to decipher that, and they make their roll, and sometimes I'm just gonna say yes or no, right? Just like very unintrusive, and then they go straight because I know what they're trying to do, right? They told me they're gonna try that. I see them roll dice because like we play online, they roll on screen, so I can go straight. I can just say yes and no, and I can just say like, man, I have no clue what that say, right? And then like when roll with that or yes, and then like if you want to make that up, or if it's yes, I'm gonna tell them, right, if it's important. But and that's an
Or I
example
might
like that.
say, you don't need to roll. You can just you understand what it says.
Yeah.
Or I can
Yeah.
say it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you roll. You cannot decipher this.
But that's the thing too. Even if they roll their dice, I can tell them yes and no, and if it's no matter what they roll, I can just tell them no whatever they roll. If it's yes, I can just tell them that yes whatever they roll, right? Maybe unless they roll a 1. Same thing if somebody want to try to make a persuasive speech or something like that, right? Instead of like you making the speech and then rolling and then like, oh yeah, you thought you said that, but actually it came out as this, right? And then we have to retcon the thing. Just make the roll before and then interpret the roll, make your speech based on the roll you did, right? You roll shittily, like just say, okay, I go to the microphone and then like I try to make a rousing speech, but then I'm babbling and I'm making no sense, stuff like that, right? So that's I know like a lot of people like don't like to only roll when I tell you. I trust my player. Like roll when you think it's relevant and go straight to the interpretation of the role instead of doing the back and forth, the retcon, stuff like that, right? Not for every role. Sometimes I'm gonna ask them for a role, stuff like that. But like if they can do it, right? Yeah, it's just like less immersion breaking in a sense, right? We can it's just like go to the fiction. So sometimes people like we put the live play and say, oh, you don't use the rules, stuff like that. So, we just don't talk about them. We use the rules, but we just use them in a transparent way.
Well, I counter you back on the same example, because as a GM, if you tell me you're going to go try and say something, I want to know what you're going to say, because that might make your role more or less effective. If you're if you're saying something that is going to be adversarial to that character, and you as a character and a player don't understand that what you're saying is inherently adversarial, your DC just went up. Meanwhile, if you're saying something that character sympathetic to, I just lowered your DC.
But that doesn't really matter, because like based on the role, they can interpret what they say, but then based on the DC, you can interpret the reaction of the character, right? The two things can be dissociated to a large extent. Sorry, Malachi, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, or you can have this work right. You can still have the role beforehand. It's just you as a GM will have to modify their role rather than modifying the DC they have to hit.
Yeah, but
it was working in my head.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. But like what I said, like we don't necessarily need to talk to talk about it, because like let's say we just take an example, like right, you just take D&D, something that people know, right? So you roll your D20, you roll a 17. All right, go right ahead. That what you said is good and persuasive, like then do your best shot at that, right? And I understand that I don't expect you to do as good as your character, because not everybody's like good at everything, right? But like give us the impression that you're competent at what you're doing. But what you're saying is hostile, so actually like the DC would be 19, right? Then you did your job, you still did the speech well, but it still wasn't well enough. So the character can still react badly. The other guy can still react badly, right? So now we have the cake and we can eat it too, right? You had your role. I interpreted DC as I want. We didn't have to stop and talk about the rules. So That's how I see it anyway. But I know like some people like are more like want to be like very control and. But yeah, I'm very relaxed as a GM on that sense.
Oh no, I can be too. I mean, just we'll try something. I don't know if you can do it or not. Just give me a quick roll out of modifier for your skills, attribute or skill, or
And
whatever.
also the
if
people
you're
I
high
play
enough,
with,
it's okay. You're good.
the people I play with, which is also like something that it's important to me. They understand what we're trying to do here. They're not trying to win at D&D, right? That's nonsense because like as a GM, I can, if you win, it's because I let you win. Because I can always bring more opposition. I can always like bring more challenge, right? So the win condition of D&D is not to beat the GM because like the GM has infinite power in a sense, right?
It should never be.
So it has to be something else.
Any game.
And from the win condition for D&D is to have this immersive experience and this believable world and those believable character. So in that sense, D&D or role-playing games are a collaborative experience because we're all there for the same goal. We want to have this immersive experience.
Yeah, we only have a couple minutes left in this segment here, and I want to make sure. No, you guys can finish your thoughts on this, but I do want to, if you can, to be fair, this should go to Daniel because it's his segment.
Yep.
So I just want to make sure that we're answering the part where, what advantage do you see when the GM loosens reins or keeps tighter control over it? I know you guys have your sides in that, but I'd like to see, just kind of express real quickly out there for the folks, like what the advantage of each is, for your preferred style, starting with Daniel.
The advantage in a more GM-driven game is you have a singular vision that is backstopping what everyone does. So it doesn't. Back to the same analogy, you have one person who's saying the road trip is going to Atlanta. I'm letting you guys pick all the roads, whether or not you stop, whether you go way out of the way to get there, and all that stuff. But I'm making sure that our road to Atlanta game is a road to Atlanta game. And you have more consistency and more consistent long-term success in your campaigns when the game master is in the driver's seat. The advantage to a looser game is it becomes a little bit more adaptable. It does. If you have a player who maybe they thought Road to Atlanta was a great game, but they really kind of found out that they didn't particularly care for Road to Atlanta after they're already playing, but they still want to be part of the group. They still want to be with their friends and stuff. Having a far more loose game allows them to then turn around and manipulate that campaign so that they still enjoy it, or it moves more into something that they would enjoy. It does allow for certain flexibility, amongst the entirety of the group. I personally see that as 9 times out of 10, the more controlled situation, as long as you don't cross the line and get too rigid, is going to more consistently over time provide better, longer games that have more coherent ends. But there is the advantage to that looseness that it becomes a lot more, like I said, a lot more free form, a lot more adaptable. It's a lot less prone to issues where somebody doesn't show up. It's a lot less prone to issues where somebody is not particularly enjoying their character or enjoying the game that the style that it's playing. So there's definitely some advantage to it. I just think that if you run both styles 100,000 times, you're going to have more consistent success and enjoyment long term in a more structured game with one person who is kind of the funnel for everybody's creativity, as opposed to this guy going this way, this guy going this way, that guy going this way. Maybe they're kind of trying to come back together, but too many cooks in the kitchen.
Hey, you guys want to follow up with that? Or are we
Okay,
should I start reading chat here?
I can say one thing. Like I'm gonna be brief because I've talked a lot, even though it's like my segment. But like the one advantage I see with the GM driven style, like I talk at length about the collaborative advantage, But the GM driven style, if you have player that are like a bit more wallflower, player that are not super proactive, maybe you need the GM to step in a bit more, and that's for a lot of table. I think the drawback to that is that you're also training your player to be more passive, right? Like for me, it's a bit to break, right? So there's, but if that's the type of player you have, there's maybe sometimes the GM has to step in a bit more.
I feel like having a little bit of a looser rein is going to be helpful for the GM more in the long run. Like I said earlier, with for example, burnout. Yeah, if you're got to do it, create everything, and your brain's going to get worn out. It's going to need a break, and then the game's going to suffer. And having players that can once a while, even if they're just thinking out loud, and you just steal their ideas, do it. I mean, it's going to help you out, I think.
Okay. Well, don't forget to share the stream. Tap the hype button. Help us get this discussion trending out there. People watching live stream aren't going to see it now, but if you guys don't know what the hype button is for the first 7 days that a video goes out there, I think everybody has it now, but I'm not sure. You can mash a hype. You only get like 3 a week or something, so be careful. Be judicious who you give it to. Legion of Myth, of course. You can hype it and put it on the YouTube trending page, which I guess is something that people look at. Now, in segment 3, our panelists will talk about matching style to group needs and campaign goals here. But let's finish this segment off with your super chats, member comments, and so forth here. Got to scroll back here. Did that one. Where did I leave off? Okay, let's right here. I know I responded to it, but I don't think I read it. So Law Dog says, no giveaway. I thought 200 got us a giveaway. The giveaway is now only an RPG Digest because I have a hard cutoff on this one at 2.5 hours. I'll cut Malachi in the middle of his conversation. Just click, we're done. So there's a hard cutoff at that point where this will end up turning to members only. So members, stand by, and we got a lot of new members today, so stand by, and there will be some more goodness for you. Also, it allows our panelists to understand that, look, man, I got a life to live, and I know you can do 8 and 10 hour streams at some point here, that they only need to stay for the 2.5 hour portion of it. It gives them something to look at in terms of their schedule. So, but if I remember, and I make no promises on this, and if anybody tries to hold my feet to the fire, I will not do this, but I will try to grab the names from tonight's super chatters and add it to the Sunday giveaway as well. You don't watch Sunday? Sorry, don't know what to tell you, but thank you for the $5, Law Dog. And then right after that, he gives 5 memberships because he wants more people to win some awesome stuff on Sunday. So, where we give away a gift certificate. As long as you're watching. Yeah, that's right. As long as you're watching. We've had a few winners not watch. Some actual real life friends of mine, jerks. Thought you're my friend. You should be watching my show. No, so we do gift certificates for Drive Through RPG or Palladium Books, and if nobody wins, then we roll it over to the next week, up to a maximum of now $200. At least I think it is, or is it a maximum $100? I forget what I changed it to. Anyway, Law Dog says, does anyone have a good definition of Gonzo? Since this is your segment, Daniel, we will start with you. Do you have a good definition of Gonzo?
All right. To be a little crass about it, the most common usage of Gonzo comes from the adult film industry, and it describes videos that have like no dialogue, no story to them or anything. It's just acts. That is essentially what a Gonzo fantasy campaign is. There's no control to it. What they do is what they do. It's not structured. So if you're running a Gonzo-style campaign, just about anything can be in the game. 90% of it's going to be rolled randomly. So you're going to do, if you're doing a hex crawl, you're just going to roll what's in that next hex. And if you just went from the Arctic to the desert, it happens. Gonzo, and now there's going to be levels to it. It's going to be, how extreme does it go? But to be honest, I would say that most of WotC D&D has turned into Gonzo. Because you walk into the tavern at Waterdeep and there's a portal to another dimension in the middle of it, and there's a mind flayer arm wrestling a dwarf, and there's 15 different flavors of elf at the bar, and there's a halfling dancing with a goblin over in the corner.
Oh, no,
That's
don't
gone.
forget the gnome and the furbolg. This was actually documented or written in one of their whatevers. A gnome and a furbolg were married.
Yes, Gnome and a Furbolg were married, and I mean, we're married, and Bard can seduce the dragon. That's Gonzo. Gonzo is over the top, unstructured. There is
Everything goes.
Yeah, the story in Gonzo is what happened this session. The stories are 5 minutes because there's no story. It's just
Okay.
Which when we say like the story is what happened in the session, that's what we preach too on our side of the hobby, right? It's like there's no story predefined, but we also think like people should should make sense. You just try to make sense, right? Which Gonzo, like that's like whatever goes, right? It's like it's wild.
Okay, Malachi, you have a definition?
Yes, hang on a second. It is the mundane exaggerated to a bizarre extreme. That comes from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas from Hunter S. Thompson.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Journalism.
Okay.
And as for the tavern in Waterdeep, the Yawning Portal, it's not a portal. It's an elevator to a dungeon. Big difference.
What is it called? The Yawning Portal? Oh no,
I wasn't even talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I guess maybe it is Yawning Portal. I was talking about the
that's
picture
the big
that they
tavern.
posted online.
Yeah, that's
Anything
the Yawning
Forgotten
Portal.
Realms
I've
is
seen
already
pictures.
Gonzo. So anyway,
Yeah.
So Law Dog follows that up with a $20 super chat. Says roll dice last. Can't get on board with that one. Roll dice when appropriate. Now that I can get on board with. You want to defend yourself on that one?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Is roll dice when appropriate. I said that rolling dice is the last resort to resolving something in the game. In other words, if I need there to be a random chance to facilitate what's happening, we roll dice. It doesn't necessarily mean that the last thing you ever do is roll dice. You can roll dice before you make the attempt or whatever. You can say, hey, look, this is what I want to attempt, roll the dice, and then change how you're going to act that out or present that. But basically, it's like, I am not going to have unnecessary dice rolls in the game for no reason. I'm not going to have you roll for something that's impossible, especially when, as the perception of the world as the GM, I'm informing you that your character knows what you want to do as a player is not possible. If you do it, you are going to have the predefined result that you were given. We're not going to arbitrarily roll dice and waste people's time, because here's the problem. If I let you roll and it's like a 20 or it's a 1, we'll use D&D as an example. Okay, everybody's fine. Everybody figures it out. But if it's impossible and I let you roll and you get like a 12, you're going to have another member of the party who's like, well, I'm going to give it a shot now too. And we're going to go around this table while everybody's trying something that we all should know is impossible and rolling it over and over and over again, wasting half the session and doing nothing because the DM did not have the balls to come out and say, you fail. Instead of roll and let's see if you fail. I don't care. If you get a 20, you're still going to fail.
See, that's something funny you said.
Exactly.
Like that's something that never happened at our table. Like somebody tried to roll for something and fail. Nobody else gonna go try it at their turn. They're just gonna like say, "Oh man, you can do it." Like I guess I won't be able to either. I just like they make the assumption and just like move on with their life. Try something else.
So our general rule of thumb is if the outcome is unknown and the result of that outcome, success or failure, is meaningful, then you roll dice.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much. It's as simple as that.
Are you Daniel? Are you like where you stand on like reaction table and random encounter? Do you roll for those, or you just like don't really use them?
I do. A lot of it depends on the style of game I'm playing, what's going on in the story. I do like random encounters to a certain extent, but I do not ever use, unless I'm deliberately running like a Gonzo style game for fun, I do not run truly random encounter tables. So current game, party is it's actually a mega dungeon that's built underneath this dwarven city, but they're down on the level. I have a random encounter table for that level, but every random encounter that's on it is tied to things that are happening in the world. And I also have a list on the side of what exists on that level of the dungeon. And if I roll the Umber Hulk gets scratched off, and that becomes no encounter if he's already been encountered once, because the Umber Hulk that was on that level is dead. So
that was on the good kind of random encounter tables.
We can talk more about that in the after show, we'll call it. I want to get to this comment here. So what do you do when you want a collaborative game, but the only players you get only know the GM-driven approach of roleplay from D&D, like or Living Forgotten Realms, Greyhawk, or even After Telling Them? I'm going to put this one, even though it's Daniel's segment, I'm going to put, because this is more of a Mr. Max style question. I'm going to give that to him. You want to give the quick answer to this, please?
We have like some rules that we established, like, and that's a session 0 kind of thing discussion that you need to have, right? You need to tell them like, okay, we have those rules. You don't ask questions to the GM, and just tell me what your character is, what your character does, and if you see something, if you think something should be there, go for it. If you think it's obvious, if you're not sure, you can say something like, "Oh, I look for a pair of scissors," or "I look for a beer bottle," right? And I'm gonna tell you, right? So you don't have to necessarily add something. Your character should have goals, and you should act upon those. Like, don't try to figure out what I plan as a GM, because I didn't plan anything outside of what I told you in session 0 and what you saw before, right? I'm flying by the seat of my pants, and I'm reacting to what you bring. So just play your character, stay in the mindset of your character. It's really like a training exercise, and a lot of players are uncomfortable with that because they've been trained so much in the GM-driven style. But once they get it, usually they can go. It goes pretty well, right? It's just like resetting expectation, I think. But it's a conversation you need to have like before the session start, and stress also that they need to be proactive. If you want something to happen, your character have to make it happen.
Yeah, use the stick. Use the stick.
Yeah.
Well, there's two things. First off, you ever met somebody who always runs around trying to figure out what God's doing? Usually we call them crazy and they live behind the dumpster at Walmart. Okay, so quit trying to figure out what the GM's doing. Don't worry about what I have planned.
Yeah.
Live in the world. Your character doesn't know a GM exists.
There's no GM. Exactly.
Yeah, there is no GM. That's just the world.
Like,
but here's your stick right here. It's like you get the player. It's like, well, can I roll something? I don't know. What are you doing? Well, what can I roll? What are you doing? You tell me what you're doing, and
That's
I'll tell you if you need a roll.
We often say like, your turn. Tell me where you are. Tell me what you do. Tell me what you say.
Yeah, don't tell me what you want to roll.
Yeah.
Tell me what you want to do.
Yeah, interact with the world, right? And don't ask me questions. Like the example we often use, like that's a big rule we have. Like, don't ask me is the door locked. Like in the real world, if you want to know if a door is locked, what do? You go check
Jiggle the handle.
Locked. Jiggle the handle. So just say that. I go jiggle the handle, see if it's locked, and I'll tell. And you have your answer.
Not the handle. All right, let's go on to the next. So we can get done in time here.
Say,
go ahead.
Okay, go ahead then. Well, I was gonna say, just start asking players questions of like what they think about things that they want that could get interjected. Like say, you're in a garage. Like, well, do you think you want to look for like a tool or something? Try and get them to interact with the world a little bit more.
A good thing also, if you can match them with other players that are used to the collaborative style, they're gonna pick up much faster. Like if you try to turn a whole group, that's much harder. But
All right, let's move on here to the next one. If that didn't fully answer your question, we can grab it later in the members only, because it looks like you are a member anyway. So if you hang out, we can dive into that more. But I do have to keep this on schedule here. So Phil the Thrill says, vet your players and thank you for 3 months. And I made a comment there. Yeah, the 4D role-playing style definitely requires you to vet your players. And we're not going to dive into that, but Mr. Max, you're very adamant about curating your table, right?
Oh yeah.
I don't think that has to do with style. You have period. Vet your players. Nothing kills a game faster than having the wrong people in there. And sometimes the wrong people just means you're not a fit for this table, even though I like you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not only about style. Also, sometimes it's also like about aesthetic, right? Like I try to play with somebody, we agree on style and stuff like that, but we just have very different preference and aesthetic stuff, and so we just don't match, right? The thing you like, I think it's cringe. The thing I like, you think it's creepy and dark. So well, we're not just good match, right? It's all right.
And finally, we got a 3-parter here. for 25 Rons. I don't know who Ron is, but I get 25 of them. And thank you for all the 75 Rons that we're going to have here. And maybe I'll use them for a giveaway or something. I hope he can pack them over there. Anyway, says, hello, regarding the major topic, had a vampire game where I was reacting to the players most of the time. The game died because the players did not like the style, because everything seemed reactive from me. Now I planned a one-shot in Heroes Unlimited with a concrete campaign. Good game. Concrete campaign plan and world, and the players are a lot more excited about it. Not all players like all the freedom.
That's a very fair comment. Like I said, like some people are just like, some players just want a more like, I guess I would call it a passive experience. It might sound like a bit negative, but like, you know, that's coming from me, right? Obviously, some bias. But like, yeah, some people they just want to show up, tell me when to roll dice, and tell me your story. Right? I'm gonna spend a few hours there, and then I'll go home. That's it, right? And you know, that's fine. That's what you want.
Some players want a video game that allows them to operate outside the limits of a program, and there's not really anything wrong with that. It just has to be put in the right place. And you're going to have, like, having an eclectic group or a mixed group works pretty well, because you're going to have the people who step up and fill in the blanks for the guy who really wants to get into his character versus the guy who just really wants to swing swords.
All right. Well, with that taken care of, let's meet our third panelist, which we kind of already did, but I'll give him a chance to do it again and jump into the final question, what's up?
Go ahead.
Oh, which asks about matching style to group needs and campaign goals. So, Malachi, who are you, a content you create, and what is your tabletop RPG experience?
I've been gaming a long time, since like the 90s. I started like late 90s, mostly as a GM. I like the role. Get to play once in a blue moon, really. I see on my Substack. It's like I said earlier, it's been on a bit of a hiatus, partially because I haven't been on here. This was a little bit of a motivator for me, but I got some books in the mail today, so I can talk about them on there. That sounds like fun.
So you got his TMT books, and you should write a Substack about this, about your time here. You ready for the question?
Okay.
Or did you have more?
Go over it again real quick.
Okay. So when you sit down with a group or plan a new campaign, what specific signs, preferences, and past experiences lead you to commit to a firmly GM-driven structure, experiment with a more collaborative approach, or a mix of the two? And how can a group use the same signals to decide which style will serve its own table the best?
Okay.
Basically, how do you decide, and what do you think other people should look for to decide at their table?
Well, I think number one, you should kind of, if you're a player, you should kind of have an idea on how your style is preferred, and ask and talk to their players in the group and figure out how closely you are aligned with them and if you can work with them. Never ever be afraid to ask questions and talk to people. Oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, but
I only sent the questions out like a month in advance.
I know. Oh shit.
That's okay. I didn't read them either.
No, I didn't went over them before. I went over them beforehand.
How about this? Just one of you guys go ahead, jump on in. You can answer the question, whatever. When Malachi remembers or whatever, he can step back in.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, for me, it's just about, it's really what you're looking for is happy players. Okay. You're looking for happy players. Now we've got a new a new reality because of the expansion of technology and the Kung Flu and all that stuff. Used to, it was you have a group because that's your group. Unless you lived in a major city and had a very active game store scene or something, it was, these are my 5 players. So I'm going to have to adapt my game to where the most people get the most enjoyment. It wasn't like today where it's like, well, I'm just going to go throw up that I have a game in a, looking for players thing, and I'm going to have 40 people in my inbox by the end of the day because everybody's looking to play. So
that's where a lot of mine comes from. It's like for the longest time, I always had a group. It was always the same. I might use running games, but I never like out looking for people. Like actually, right now I've got one guy that wants to play, and we're trying to find other people, but it's really scheduling issues that's hurting us.
Which I mean, that definitely happens. But
But are there any like when you have players at your table, you can, I mean, I know we can, when I've had people at my tables, we can tell pretty quickly the guy who's going to be, and I'm using terms that are going to make people angry, I don't care, be the more grognard, just wants to quote unquote move his tune to the next square, whatever, and just take whatever action. We know which one's going to be the more thespian, and forsooth, and hearken unto thee, for I have, like, shut the hell up. And the people who are going to be somewhere in between. We can tell the people who are just there to say sow dissension. You can usually tell even in character creation who that's going to be, or the person who's there, like, tell me
I can
about this
definitely tell
world's.
those.
well, 90% of the ones you can tell, you can just kick out. The ones you got to watch out for are the ones who are like that, mainly because they're bored. Because we really have just a few different ways that we view these games. Some people view it as an action game, and that's your grognard who wants to swing his axe. Some people see it as an exercise in living through another person's experience, which is where you get your thespian. They want to be someone else for a little while. And then you get people like, say, me, who, when I'm a player, generally I'm approaching everything that's in the game as some kind of puzzle, something to figure out, some way. You give me a set of criteria, and I try to figure out how I can optimize the solution. How can I have the best outcome for this character that I'm representing? What would he be striving to get? And the balance there is to be able to put a little bit of each, recognizing how many of each type of player you have, how strongly they feel about it in one direction or the other, and giving them enough, giving the grognard enough axe swinging, giving the person who wants to be another character enough room for character development and for enough ability to express themselves, and giving that person who's looking for, to try and, figure it out as a solution or a puzzle, giving them enough different ways or enough openness in the situation to where there's not one very deliberate, very obvious way to solve the problem. No terrain in combat is probably the biggest sin. You want to talk about the biggest game master sin that makes boring, especially Dungeons and Dragons, but boring games? All of your combat magically happens in a big flat space where everything's exactly 5 foot squares, fits nicely on a grid. There's no rocks you can trip over. There's no hill over here. There's nothing to duck behind. It just magically always happens on Professor DM's Ultimate Dungeon.
Hey, I've got Ultimate Dungeon terrain. I like it, but I use it differently.
To be fair,
out here.
Use it differently too. But magically, it's this little circle is where all of our fighting takes place. That's going to piss off Mr. I need to figure out a new way to do stuff. Yep. And he's going to get bored, and he's going to start screwing around with stuff. And the same thing's going to happen with the grognard who wants to sit here and doesn't want to watch Shakespeare. As he sits there and knocks his dice tower over for the 9th time, he's like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to hit this guy in the nuts.
Yep.
But I was busy acting towards him.
I also can fucking stand the actor. They're almost like the worst part, right? It's like, because like, you're not there to still because they're also like, you don't have your character goal. Now your goal is to try to impress the other players at the table, right? And it's kind of like, it's kind of gross. It's like, I don't want the GM to try to impress me with their prose and his description and shit like that. I don't want the other character to impress me with their acting chop, right? It's like, that's not what we're here for. And what we're here for me, that's the big question, right? Like, when you try to, like, I'm very selective. I play only online now. I have my group, the people at which we play, which sometimes we expand outside a bit with, but also like we have this big catalog, I guess, this big like work of us talking about the game, so people know what to expect when they join us now. So I have this luxury. But like the big question for me is like why do you engage in this hobby, right? What are you looking for from this hobby? Why do you do role-playing game rather than anything, like rather than board game or video game or just watching a movie or doing some sports, right? And the answer to that is going to tell you a lot about like what the player are in for, right? If they start talking about the mechanics and the complexity of the rules and the stuff, like, well, okay, you're not going to be right for my table. That's not what we do exactly, right? If you talk about the acting, I might have to be like, ugh. Like, oh, I like doing voice and like, no, thank you.
Well, just remember, just like we've all had this crap happen. It's like, oh, the bad guy goes into a monologue, and the character's like, well, I just cut him off and hit him in the face with an axe in the middle of his speech.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, yeah, you know what? You can do that to that thespian actor too. It's like, oh, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this, that, the other. I'm like, yeah, a crossbow bolt hits you in the chest. Looks like you're in combat.
But he's not going to be happy with that, right? Like, that's also the thing, right? So, and you mentioned like you want to have a happy player. I also want to be happy as a GM, right? And if you come to my table and you waiting for me to entertain you without you bringing anything into the table, I'm not gonna happy with that, right? And if I'm a player and I'm just there to listen to your story, I'm gonna fucking hate it, and I might punch you in the nuts in real life. Just change the tone, right? Just like,
I think you can blame Appendix N a little bit. All right, Appendix N is a great thing. I've read, I think, everything on it multiple times. I started a project to bring back the same kind of writing that you find in it. So it's not like I'm anti-Appendix N, but we presented this idea from the very beginning that it's like, oh, it's like you get to be one of the characters in your favorite book. Well, the problem is that most books, even ones that have an ensemble cast, have at least one, maybe two, have one or two main characters. Yeah. And not everybody can be a main character. And they need to understand that you're not a main character. You're part of a group. It's like, I mean, to put it in a way, you can't be, you're not Frodo. Okay.
I think there's often
you're
like
Boromir and you're Aragorn, or you're Boromir and you're Legolas. You are Boromir, Legolas, Gimli, and Gandalf.
I think there's often dynamics in the good groups, where like one of the characters is going to take the lead a bit, right? Become like the main character. And usually if you're a good group, that's going to change and evolve and stuff like that, depending on the situation, depending on the, but I think everybody can have their shot at being a main character, and you should strive to kind of be, in a sense, right?
You need to be the main character of your own story, but you also have to understand that from the perspective of Sam or Frodo or Aragorn or Boromir, every last one of them was one of 9 members of a group trying to accomplish a goal. None of them were doing it from the perspective of, I'm the main character of this story.
No. They're all working together.
Yeah. All right, anything else you guys want to say on here?
Yes.
I'm going to ask for the third time in terms of signs, preferences, and experience that lead you to commit to a certain set. And I'll get you in a second, Malachi, because it is your segment.
Yeah.
But in terms of, since you guys are kind of solidified in your signs already, things that other folks out there can look for and say, hey, you know what? Maybe they're a public game master. And they're at the library, or they're at the church function, or the the pub, whatever, and like, I got this group of people that I'm going to start running for, and I'm okay with running either way. But how do I determine which one is going to be most appropriate for them? And pretend you're talking to people who've never done this before. But go ahead, Malachi.
Yeah, but I was going to say, one sign for me about finding players I think are going to work really well for me is people that are going to, they work on their character, they work on their backstory, just, my one paragraph, no more than paragraph, that they have ideas and they're throwing out at me to bounce off of me with for world generation. I really, really like that, because I like that as a less of a load on me, so I can focus on making sure that the world is consistent with what all the NPCs are doing within the world with their goals and everything.
Okay. Anybody want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that as a game master, like, as a game master, you should play a lot of different styles. Just like you should play a lot of different systems. Even if you have a preferred system.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that you pick the system that's best for what you want to run, but maybe you don't do that. But at least if you are familiar with a bunch of different systems, you know what you can steal from those systems to enhance the one you're using. I will say this: if you're talking like, oh, I'm going to run the church group, or I'm going to run a public game stuff, there is a difference in the public open table game master versus running for a group. There is a much better. Really, that's about setting expectations. I'm going to run this. Does it sound fun? And if enough people say yes, you run that. Rather than trying to suss out what each individual person wants to do. And you can ask some probing questions, but even something as simple as like, what kind of movies and stuff do you like? If somebody really prefers, I don't really like watching The Godfather, man, that shit's too long. You probably don't want some kind of intriguing, well-developed story. If somebody's like, all I do is watch Predator and Aliens and Fast and Furious movies, and it's
Keeps
like, well,
asking
maybe
for guns in my D&D game.
Yeah, it's like maybe we just need to do something a little bit more gonzo, I guess you could say. But I think the big thing when it comes to being like the open public game master is it goes right back to that too many cooks in the kitchen thing. I'm not going to sit here and try and figure out what everybody wants to eat. I'm going to sit down and say, this is what I'm cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's what I did. The public game. I think that's fair for the public game, but to be frank, this to me sounds like a nightmare. I don't want to do that. I'm not con guy kind of GM or stuff like that, right? So
it's like bringing up being a paid GM. You have to understand that if you're going to be a paid GM, you're no longer a player. You're an employee. Yeah. You're a contract hire.
Yeah, exactly.
You run what they want you to run because they're paying you.
Yeah.
And if you don't like that, charge more.
But that's exactly something that I would never. I have no interest in doing that.
I've always said that if I'm going to be a paid DM, I'm going to tell you this is like you using the analogy you did, Daniel. This is what I'm cooking. This is what's going to be at the table. You can sit down and eat it, or you can go away.
I'd rather be like a gigolo.
This is the product I'm selling.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the product I'm selling. Do you want to buy?
I'm charging for it. Yep.
Yeah, because I mean,
I think there's also a difference between
it's voluntary exchange. That's how.
Yeah, if you go with a new group of experienced player, it's a different question. If you go like you do a church group, we're gonna do a D&D game. Nobody played any role playing before, right? That's a different question. If you go with experienced player, you can also ask them like to tell them about like memorable moment in their previous game, right? And already the way they tell that, if they start talking about like this tactical combat, dice roll and stuff like that, you already know a lot about like what they're into. If they start talking about like emotional moments or like the way they're gonna answer that question is gonna give you a lot of clues about what kind of gamer
Malachi's character made me cry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh man,
Oh, I don't talk.
That's why I was crying. I said, "Would you please do something?"
And I think the collaborative style works very well with new player, sometimes even better, right? Because they don't have the stigma of like the GM that told them no all the time.
They don't have. They're also not familiar with the rules, so they're not always trying to look at it for how to go into it. And it's a really good GM can play whatever game you want to play. Can play a role-playing game with no books and no system.
Yep.
I mean, the dice are an illusion anyway most of the time. It's like I can have a pair of D6 and be running you guys through an adventure and be like, all right, well, I need to kind of, how hard should this be? Well, that should be probably pretty hard. So, if I get anything over a 10, clack.
Yep.
I don't need a system. I don't need rules. I just need some common sense and the ability to watch it. Now, that is approaching it as a collaborative effort and not as a game. Now, if you want a game, you need the rules and the structures. But, well, at least in the mechanical sense. But a good GM who's running that kind of style doesn't need a game system.
All right. Well,
can I share the thing that I
sure. Yep. I'll put it up on the screen. Hold on. I gotta get this off the screen first and change the layout.
Just because like I have a tool on my website that you can go look. right? It's drunkenclericsgame.com. I think Mike's probably gonna put the link in the chat too. So I made this worksheet. If you're interested in going to a more like a collaborative style with co-creation that we call, right, you can use this worksheet in session 0 to go to okay, what's yes you allowed, what's off limit, what's kind of like iffy. It's fairly long. You should go through it pretty quickly. Like, don't necessarily like discuss every point, but just like you can kind of have like an element, so it's divided into NPC and a different section, right? So you can just like, it's a work sure about it, and you want to see can we do this this collaborative style with co-creation, a lot of co-creations like that. How far can we go? That could be like a jumping off point for the discussion for session 0. Not so I think you can look at that. There you go. I hope it's going to be useful to some people.
Okay.
Hey, it doesn't ask me if I'm afraid of spiders, so
I am afraid of spiders, and I love it when spiders are in the game because it gives me that like, you know?
Yeah, it's really not the same vibe. It's very not the same type of
checklist
of tool.
You see,
Yeah.
Apparently, Max likes to be scared in his games because he remembers that ant story.
Well, it's also the first time I ever played Dungeons & Dragons in my life. So, you know, that ant story, everybody's heard it. And if you haven't, we can talk about that later. What I want to do now is I want to talk about people becoming Legion Myth channel members. You can do that by hitting the join button. You can also support us after the live stream with a super thanks. It really helps to know that you truly like this content and want more. Now, something new and different from the past. In segment 4, we bring you in to talk to our panelists about tonight's topic. I will post the link to join in just a moment. Just remember, I'll try to get everyone as I can, but I will prioritize members and super chatters first. They kind of, you know, they paid to play, but we'll try to get everybody in. Now we have just under a half hour. Actually, we have like 25 minutes to do this, and then we hard cut off the show. So I cannot promise to get to everybody. Let me put the link out there now. You guys should see that. Oh, it only went to YouTube. Hold on. Over there. If you want to pop on in. And yeah, so while we wait for that, let's hit the other chat. I only started one chat from this, and that was for Mr. Max here. My wife can't watch because she has migraines. Your background is causing one. You know?
Oh, I'm sorry for that. No, I'm going to change though.
Wow. That's okay. If I start getting complaints in the audience, you're out.
Wait, you're Canadian. Canadian's supposed to like bound
I'm French Canadian. No,
He's
I'm
from
French
Quebec.
Canadian. It's very different. It's like we go the opposite way in reaction.
They're the rude Canadians.
Yes,
Why they speak a different language so they can talk about you behind your back.
Yeah, I could. Maybe I could change. I'll try to be nice, right? All right. Since we're waiting for a viewer.
I mean, well, at least
also,
you're not.
While we're doing that, let me finish up here real quickly, and then Malachi, go ahead. So before we bring anyone into the panel, I want to remind folks. Oh my God, that's giving me a migraine. I need to remind you of a few things here. If you don't want to get booted or possibly banned, do not break YouTube's terms of service. Also, stay on topic. So it's about collaborative GMing versus DM-driven games. Unless someone specifically super chats more time for you, you have 5 minutes maximum for your back and forth. So make your point quickly. No matter what, the show is a hard stop here in about 23 minutes. This means we may not get to everyone. Finally, I make no guarantees. Oh, I already said this, but I will try to prioritize members, super chatters, and Rumble ranters. And with that, we'll wait for somebody to pop on in here.
I'm sorry, I don't really have like any background that is not obnoxious.
I was gonna say,
well,
at least
you
you're not
recognize that
head.
fact. So,
sorry, you said, Marky?
I said, at least you're not a floating head right now. Like when you had black.
Yeah.
I miss the Mr. Max floating head. Well, until somebody clicks on that link, remember you can. That's just for your. I cannot talk. This is for your time to join us, folks. But until that happens, if there's anything else you guys want to leave on the table, final statements, comments, or whatever about tonight's topic, anything that you didn't get to say that you wanted to, go ahead and bring them up now.
We got a debate later.
You got a debate.
Yeah, we're gonna debate later.
What you need to do. Y'all need to go up on. Make sure you go up on the 19th or is it 16th that we're
19th.
the 19th. So you
Yeah,
can,
I think after the debate we're gonna go much more into co-creation and stuff like that. Like, I think this conversation here tonight took a lot of turn about like GM plot, basically, right? I think that's also like what we went a lot, right? Having a pre-plan stuff like that. I mean, like we didn't talk about module, which could have been like a interesting segment. I'm surprised nobody brought it up. Playing module and stuff like that. Are you like guys module kind of?
I see modules as a tool, and they got a lot of usefulness for them.
Yeah. If I'm running
right.
a game in a store, I don't mind using a module because, you know.
Oh, I made it on.
Okay.
You're the
Go
first
ahead.
one to pop in. It's funny because I can get like 50 people to pop in when I don't want them here, but when I ask them to, people are like, no. So we got the Edge Lord. Okay, Edge Lord, you got 5 minutes. What do you got to say?
Hang on one sec. I got to pause you on the other thing. I'm getting an echo. There we go. All right, go ahead. Sorry. Nothing. Just wanted to say thanks for having me on, and thanks for doing this on Friday. I actually enjoy this.
That's awesome. Well,
That's all I wanted to say.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, we'd be doing this every week here. We're back. Yeah. It's been like over 6 months since we've done one of these. I had some things I had to take care of in life, but I'm looking forward to this. I think tonight's panel has been fun. Did you want to just? You had a lot of good comments.
I just wanted to razz on Maliki a little bit, but that's
no. Go. We're all here for that.
Oh no, everybody does it. I'm used to it.
Yeah. No, I kind of agreed. At first I got on, I'm like, God, Daniel's kind of being a prick, but actually it turns out I agree with him 100%. So
that's the story of my life.
Yeah. No, it is a good analogy. It's a road, not a railroad. But I also agree a lot with Mr. X too. So I don't know. Guess I'm ball washing, so I'm gonna go.
All right. Well, thanks for popping up in here. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks, guys.
Later.
Take care, man.
So yeah, one of the things what we're talking here. So Mr. Max and I, we have a slight disagreement. I think 4D role playing goes too far, but as they like to call us, is 3D. And here's the very subtle example I'll use, where Mr. Max says, "Hey, as the player, I go find the cake, right?" I'll just use the example I like to use because I'm going to grab the pen off of the desk and I'm going to write a note or something like that. Where I will say, if there's a pen on the desk, I'm going to write a note. And so that puts the ball back into the game master's court where it's like, of course there's a pen, it's a desk, whatever. Or no, strangely enough, you find no pens on the desk. Yeah.
Which we're not against like a character being cautious in the co-creation and saying stuff like that. Oh, I look for, instead of saying if, I say I look for a pen to write a note, right? And say, yeah, there's a pen there. But also, like I said, like there's so much way. Like if you're the GM, and a player would say that, like, oh, I grab a pen and write a note. It's so easy to just say like the pen's out of ink or whatever, right? It's like, or something like that, right? There's if it's important for you that they cannot take a note, you can always cock block them. I don't think you should do it too much. Sometimes you should just let your player be cool. Let your player have their character be cool and have a cool idea and do cool stuff, right?
Well, I know that folks love to use the whole mother may I gaming thing, but it's like asking questions is not a problem when you are the perception of the player. Do I see this? Is there that? It's perfectly acceptable. Because yes and no are both.
But I agree as well. Sometimes you've got to get that clarity, and usually what that tells me as a game master, okay, next time I do something like this, I have to be either clear or I have to focus on something different. But
I just like more like action word, like instead of saying do I see this, I look for this, right? Just like because it keep your character moving and stuff like that, and just being like always avoiding the floating head, ironically. Hello,
Lord Mattias, sir, welcome.
Hey,
yeah, thanks. What you got?
Oh, I just want to say, number one, good to see you back. I've told you this before. I think GMI is like really awesome show, and I think it's really super important.
And you're streaming right after this, aren't you?
I will be. I didn't want to promote my own show on your show, but
I don't want to turn this into a promotion section, but I don't mind shouting. Yeah, see, I brought it up, so it's okay now.
Okay, I was waiting for it. Okay, but yes, I do have a show, The Second Watch. YouTuber Rumble. It's Gaming with Lord Mattias on YouTube. It's Lord Mattias. We'll be starting at 10:30 Eastern Standard. We're doing a little earlier this year, but it's kind of like this, but a little bit more looser. I like to joke that this show is the lawful and our show is chaotic. So well, we'd love to see you there. But I love this conversation tonight. I think you guys were really big picture. I think both you guys had some really great points. Like in practice, I don't mind if my players say something like, hey, I'm going to reach for the pen in the desk when I never said anything about a pen, right? But I think I'm more in line with what Daniel's saying here in terms of, I have this world and there's roads. Max, you like to call them timelines, right? Where like stuff is happening. And if players don't want to like engage with it, that's fine. They can go off and do their own thing, but the world is still going to turn. I think that is for me, and I think for a lot of game masters, where the fun lies to have that sort of thing happen. And it doesn't have to be like this strict railroad. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. To kind of bounce off of Edgelord. I'm kind of ball watching here. It's a great show. You guys did great. I love it. Looking forward to more.
If you want to stand by for a second to have them, respond to
your
comments here.
Sure.
Go ahead, guys.
Oh, I mean, it pretty much sits exactly where I am on that. I mean, it wasn't 100% agreement, but it's pretty close to it. And it's really, I don't mind players saying they take an action. I just have no problem saying no or informing them that, they get to the desk and there's not a pen.
Right.
And that is really the truth of the matter is that the world has to act like a world.
Yep.
Otherwise, nothing you do has meaning. And meaning is what makes you want to keep coming back. And that's how you have a 10-year campaign.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I don't agree with 10-year campaign also is not something that appealed to me at all. Like that's, because at some point I'm fed up with it. I want to move to something else, right? It's not something I aspire to. But it doesn't have to be a road. They could, but if it shouldn't be a road either, there should be roads, plural, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I have a problem with is even if you say roads, but they all lead to Rome, right? Then you're gonna go to Rome.
That's
I want it to be roads, and you choose where you want to go. There's stuff happening in the world. I'm gonna inform you in some way of, oh, this is happening in Rome, and this is happening in Milan, and this is happening in Paris, and now you pick where you want to go, right? Or if you want to go to none of those places, well, some stuff is gonna happen there as well, and the stuff that was happening to those places is still gonna happen, right?
And sometimes nothing is happening there, or at least nothing interesting.
Nothing's happening there, and that's fine too.
Till the players show up and start
Probably
screwing
something is
around.
happening too, right? Yeah.
Right.
So they get up and they start, burning my breadless bakery.
Right. Well, we've had Mr. Max on our show, and we've been talking to Crispy and Bacon, and 4D we find very interesting because we just haven't really experienced a lot of it. And we did a session 0 with Crispy recently, and that was really interesting. So this is more of a question for you, Max. So it sounds like to me that in this collaborative process, you, the game master, might still have this thing that's, I don't want to say integral to a story, but we'll say a characteristic of the world. And would that characteristic still move regardless of player action or input?
It depends, right? When we do a new campaign or a new game and stuff like that, sometimes we just get up together with zero idea what we want to do, right? In session 0,
right.
we just ask the first question, so what kind of style, what kind of game we want to play, right? And then we'll build up for that, and then everybody brings something, and then sometimes we haven't decided who's gonna GM that shit after, right? Afterward, we'd be like, oh man, this is gonna be premise, and this is gonna be the kind of world we play. We want to fucking run that. Oh, I'll do it, right? I'm into it, running that, right? So sometimes that's the way we do it. Sometimes it's one of us that say man, I have this idea for a premise, right? And what if there's this world and this is happening, right? And let's explore that, right? So we do both if we have a cool idea for a premise, but then it's just an initial conflict, right? There's a conflict. Your world needs conflict, otherwise it's not interesting, right? If the world everybody's happy, everybody's at peace, right? Then there's no story to tell, right? Story needs conflict. So there's gonna be conflict in the world, but the player can interact or not with it. I like when it's something that can be kind of in the background, there's a war going on in the background, and you're trying to navigate your way in this world through that. But
Well, hey, I've got to cut this off here because Lord Mattias'
Nope.
time is done, and we do have
Okay.
somebody waiting.
All right,
Lord
hey,
Mattias,
thanks a
hope I
lot,
answered your
guys. Take it
question,
easy. Happy New Year.
You as well, sir.
See you,
And do
man.
that, and then do that, and then we have Squirrel Hermit popping on in here. Thank you for the big super
Hey!
chat earlier.
Oh, no.
You got yourself 5 minutes, sir. What do you got to tell the guys or ask the guys?
Well, I got to tell you what, the collaborative stuff, I've been having a blast with it with myself and two other folks, and we're doing a good world building. It's really good. We're not getting too much in the lore. It's really cool. It's really fun. If no one's really tried that out, try it out. We're using a super rules light system. It's called Dawn of Worlds.
I never heard it.
It's free and intentionally free online. Look it up. I think it's like 6 pages, 12 pages. It's super fun. Super fun. Now, on a lighter note, you're all losers. I play the way you play, but better.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true.
We know for sure we do. Yeah.
No, I come on. It's the calendar new year. Let's bring it in light. And I love you guys.
But
I
I
love
feel like-
all the folks in the chat. And let's keep gaming. Let's keep doing this.
We have the
Do
best chat because they know that their job is to pick on me and be
Yeah.
nice to everybody else, and I'm okay with that.
You
Well, I mean, quit your whining. Jeez, I gave you $50 to quit your whining already.
I need
What-
100.
we got to up the ante here. What's it gonna take to shut this guy up?
Retirement.
Yeah, oof, I feel you, brother.
Well,
I feel you.
Sorry, somebody's going to answer you, and I don't want to waste all your time here. Was it you, Malachi, or? I thought somebody was going to speak up.
No,
Oh.
I would say like when you say we go light on lore and stuff like that, but like when you're collaborative, like the collaborative style, do you find that the fact that not all the lore is explicit from the get go, there's always the potential that there can be more, right? And because you can build up true play and as you go, right? So basically, like the richness and the deepness of the lore is almost infinite because it's unrealized potential. If you try to put it all down beforehand, you can't, right? You can't like it's near impossible.
No, yeah, you might you write it all down. You might wipe your behind with it. You know what I mean? You just sometimes you gotta let it grow organically. You gotta you're planting a mushroom here. You're a bunch of horse crap in the closet and dark, but before you know it, you got something.
Yeah, and it's after like if you play this campaign for a while, then afterward you can look at it and now you have this cool thing that emerged from it that it's oftentimes like unexpected, much cooler than you could have thought beforehand, and everybody else put their hand in it.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Bovan, but Max, look into Dawn of Worlds. Look into that. Look into that. You guys would like that. And like I said, it was intentionally free by the creator, so you're not, there's no sailing the seas of the interwebs.
Yeah.
And Daniel and Malachi, you guys, and Max, look into it. It's like 12 pages. It's a fun little, you could even say exercise because it doesn't get that deep, but there's enough there. You guys can have fun. And it could be a world. It could be a government, a continent. It doesn't have to be entire globe, but it's a setting building game exercise. And it's a couple D6s and that's it. So you're still rolling dice because we're all dice monkeys deep in our hearts. We're dice
I would roll
monkeys.
all the
Even if we
dice.
don't roll them a lot all the time, we're dice monkeys. So there's still that involved.
Yeah. No,
Right, Squirrel Hermit,
I found it's very easy to find. Dawn of World, and first link you get.
Shoot me a message on Discord, else I'll forget, sir.
Yeah, I will, brother. All right. Hey, I know it's a new year. Happy New Year, calendar New Year.
as
God
well.
bless everybody. Robust blessings to everyone. I love everybody, not just you four knuckleheads here. Everybody in the chat. God bless.
You as well,
Yeah.
sir, and
Have a
all the
new year,
best as I as well. Oh, got himself. So somebody asked a question here real quickly that I thought was a little neat. We have, like I said, we have time for one more person to pop up in here. Else, we'll end up closing this out in just a moment. So on the Rumble side, did you not want to show this on the screen? There you go. It says, I'm looking to run Wretched Epoch. Any tips?
Oh yeah.
I don't know much about the Wretched games. I mean, good. I have no issues with Miguel and Sylvia. In fact, they just changed so that everything's from the Red Room site or Lulu, and they know my issues with Lulu, so I'm not going to get into that here. But it's I don't have any tips other than to me it's kind of a rules light D20 OSR ish style game. So if you're used to running old
think,
school D&D with like a 3E
Yeah.
a vibe, not dice rolling vibe, then you're already good to go.
I think Wretched Epoch is like an interesting. It's the setting that makes it interesting more than the system, right? It's like this in this kind of like Belle Epoque in France and like around Paris and stuff like that. So like immerse yourself in that vibe, right? Go read the cliff note of those author.
And
was
immerse
around
yourself
that
in
time.
Wretched, because Wretched is not just a catchphrase.
Yeah.
All right, the Edgelord somehow came back. So, all right,
I
sir.
agree. I agree on the Red Room thing. I just want to give Daniel a once over with one thing.
Ooh.
Ultimate Dungeon Train is freaking awesome. Don't knock it, man. That's all I want to say.
I'm not busting on Ultimate Dungeon Terrain. I'm just talking about that the actual physical model is just squares and zones. That I'm using it as a visual example of.
Are you more of a theater of the mind kind of guy?
I'm exclusively theater of the mind.
No, that's
There are
cool.
two
That's the only
circuit
way
boards.
we used to play back in the day.
There are two ways that I use miniatures. If I've got a scene that is so chaotic that I really need to give some physical representation so people can understand where things are in space, I'll bust out some pennies or some spare dice. And if I'm running Cyberpunk and we're about to do a car chase scene, I'm not passing up on the chance to play with Hot Wheels.
Well, I'm constantly. Gasland's awesome. I love, but I'm constantly painting, so I feel like I'd be wasting my time if I didn't include
the
them
thing.
into my game.
I love painting miniatures. I hate playing with them.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
usually like theater of the mind as well. But
are you? Yeah.
Like, many and have it in front of you and say, hey, here's my character. He's
Yeah.
going to sit right here next to where I roll my dice so that you have an idea of what he looks like
Yeah.
for the game that's in your mind.
I had
I
a
mean,
guy
like,
go off. I had a player go off on another player because the dagger on their miniature, he kept purposely pointing it towards the other guy's character, and it was funny for about an hour. We were just like laughing
Yeah.
because he was legitimately mad. So, all right. Anyways, I just wanted to say that. Sorry, guys. Sorry to
Take
derail.
care.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think we're going to leave it at that because we don't have 5 minutes left for this. So that is going to be it for the public portion of the show. Please leave a comment of who you believe had the most compelling, interesting, or novel position. Did you learn anything new that you may try at your table? Let
Or the
us
best
know
haircut.
in those comments. What's that?
I'll say the best haircut.
Now, who has the best haircut? That's fine if that's what you want to put in there. YouTube members, there is more to come, so don't go anywhere. Sincere thank you to everyone who supported the show with Super Chats, Rumble Rants, and memberships, and to all of you who took the time to join us tonight. Finally, thank you very much to tonight's panelists for their time and for their informative and, well, except for Malachi, spirited discussion. Always got to give Malachi crap. Be sure to subscribe to their channels or check out their content through the links in the description. With that, I look forward to seeing everybody next time. And let me play my little outro here so I know where to cut off the video. And like I said, we'll be back in just a moment, so don't go anywhere if you are a member.